Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, bitches! That's right. This is the Star Wars episode. Oh! That's right. This is a Star Wars episode. You just saw it right with our intro there. Not bad, by the way, with no planning.
I know, right? Thank you.
No, but not bad.
Just walked in, you're like, look what I got.
Look at these things I got here. We're going to use this real quick. And, yes. So, welcome in again to another episode of The Raging Buffalo. It's been a while. The last time you saw Zach was... It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I've shaved. That's a thing.
He's not in a suit today.
I'm in a hoodie and khaki.
And the last time you saw me was... Somebody's gonna die today!
You're bleeding out of your mouth.
Yeah, it was that right there. It was Habanero Hot Takes, where I very unfortunately had to be a part of that, and very stupidly volunteered just to get it out of the way subconsciously, and I just went, wham, let's go. Let's do this thing. And yeah, that was, first off, eating a pepper is gross. It's very gross.
I love it.
So, don't worry.
I eat pepper
Don't worry, you're going to be in there.
Eventually.
Your odds are not great for this month.
They're not ideal. Well, didn't they get worse too? Because no, they're exactly the same as everybody else's. Never mind. I thought I like screwed myself, and it's worse now.
No, because there's only 5 people that can be drawn from here.
Oh yes, I'm in.
So your odds are not smiling upon you.
Ideal. I'm gonna win. It's fine.
So it's okay. Actually, there's really no winning or losing based on what
Just
we did.
survive.
It's basically, let's see what kind of take you can bring out after eating this pepper.
Great takes.
So great takes. So you'll interrupt yourself. Trust me, guaranteed. But Rise of Skywalker. Oh, is that right?
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker is coming out this week. I am super excited about it. Zach's the same way. We're just brandishing lightsabers. So yes, very much excited
We're hyped
to see what happens here. And yep, there it is.
It's in the saga. I mean, it's been 40 years. It's been a huge build-up. It's defined a lot of people's lives in terms of sci-fi. In terms of me, I'm a huge sports guy, but as many of you will quickly find out when we do a number of these videos, I am a nerd at heart completely. I've taken a Harry Potter class where I met my ex-girlfriend. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
A class?
Oh yeah, I was at Edinburgh. Don't worry about it. So I mean, to a lot of us and to a lot of people, it doesn't even matter if it's going to be good or not. We're going to see it. We're going to see it a number of times.
We're going to see it twice, maybe 3 times by the time like another video comes out or something.
Yeah.
Like first off, there will be a reaction video, and we will do our best to avoid spoilers in that.
Absolutely.
If there are any spoilers in that, obviously we will just straight up introduce the video, as this movie will contain spoilers. Do not watch it unless you've seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, we will be upfront with that. Why? Because if you spoil the movie, you upset Baby Yoda. Do you want to be the person that upsets Baby Yoda? I didn't think so.
Well,
also,
2019, where everything is spoiled a week before it comes out.
Listen, if anybody tweets something about spelling a name wrong and it spoils something for somebody, and I know them, you're going to see this backhand, and it's going to be pretty close to your face. And it's going to come fast at you, so you're not going to like it. So don't spoil the movie. Don't do it. Don't be that friend. Don't be that terrible friend that just goes, I hadn't spoiled something because you want to be a jerk about it. No, don't do it. Look, I get it. Han kills Snape in the movie, okay? Like
Han kills Snape.
I always love doing that. It's like you'll just, your friends will text saying, yo, don't spoil it. Like, I'm going to be like, yo, I'm going to go see the movie. And then next thing you know, I'm going to see in the group chat, don't spoil it for anybody. And then I'm just going to say something ridiculous, like Rey kills Dumbledore or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mix my movies.
You mix it just so that everybody knows that's the most I'm going to do is have fun spoiling some fake thing that happens. Nobody likes to legitimately spoil things unless you're just a terrible person.
Yeah, I'm someone that spoilers don't necessarily affect me. I'm still going to see it. I'm still going to enjoy it, or I'll have a reaction to it, but I hate when people do it.
As a member of the media, I saw the LaShawn McCoy tweet.
You had to. I mean,
I saw it because it also has something to do with the realm that I work in. And, well, guess what? I'm still going to see it.
I think it's one of those things too. It's like certain spoilers, like some people saw stuff coming. Like I think, especially with LaShawn McCoy and Avengers Endgame, I think most people kind of assumed Tony would die.
Yeah,
but it's one of those things too.
If you've seen films and how script writing arcs tend to work, I knew that was coming. My thing was the thing that got spoiled for me was that Captain America didn't.
Yes.
Which I thought that was going to work that way too.
Yep.
Was that two guys that literally fought each other would end up perishing in the battlefield like that? Because when I see LaShawn McCoy say you should have took Captain America instead, I'm like, well, I know who lives.
I know who doesn't die.
I know who doesn't die now.
As a massive fan of Game of Thrones or the books of Song of Ice and Fire, I mean, my entire last spring was just avoiding Twitter for 48 hours before the episode came out because the entire season was leaked on Reddit. By the way, Reddit is a toxic cesspool at times with spoilers.
Reddit can be fantastic.
It's terrible at times.
It's fantastic at times, and it's terrible for those sorts of instances.
Oh man!
So avoid Reddit if you need to. Avoid social media.
That in any hashtag that has Rise of Skywalker in it.
Yeah,
it will be spoiled.
Yeah, so definitely avoid those things. Try to be cool about it. Stay off of social media if you need to, and also be smart about it if you need to be on social media for any reason. Also, who cares if something gets spoiled for you? Go see it anyway. Because if you want to go see it, you're going to want to go see it still, no matter what happens. So, if someone's a jerk to you and they spoil it for you, keep going. We believe in you. Go see it. But again, just for me, don't be that guy. Don't be that prick. I'm never going to be that kind of person, and I would really have to really hate somebody in order to straight up spoil it for them.
I've done it.
But
they irritated me. I did it.
Yeah. So, unless you really hate somebody, I'm still not going to advocate for doing it. So, with that said, though, Rise of Skywalker comes out. I'm going opening night. I'm excited. Stupid excited. And Zach texted me saying, "Hey, we need to do a Star Wars podcast."
Yeah.
I'm like, you're goddamn right we do. So, absolutely, we need to talk about these things. I actually just finished Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep, which is a game I have to get.
It's beautiful. It is a beautiful game. It really is. I loved every bit of it, from its difficulty to its storytelling to its platforming. It was a great game. 10 out of 10. Go get it and play it. It's a great game. And I finished it right in time now for The Rise of Skywalker to come out. It's probably the best way they could not have released it at a better time, I honestly think.
I mean, sure. I mean, you're also looking at, too, The Mandalorian. Episode 7, they also released, 2 days before the movie officially comes out. I do like what Disney is doing, where Fallen Order comes out. It got a lot of people hyped up because it was a really good game. Mandalorian kind of came out, a few weeks before the movie came out. Got a lot of people hyped up, and now the penultimate episode came out 2 days before Episode 9. I mean, Disney's doing really well in getting people really excited for the final chapter.
Yeah, and you got Baby Yoda, the meme of the end of 2019.
He's so amazing. I love him. So I'm not even a kid person. I love Baby Yoda more than myself.
So Zach and I thought, you know what? Why not rank the Star Wars movies going into this one here with The Rise of Skywalker and ending the sequel trilogy, so to say.
The sequel trilogy, pretty much the ending of what we're hearing is the Skywalker saga. I don't know totally how much I believe in that. I don't know. It depends how much money it makes. Disney might pull something where it's we're gonna go 10 years in the future and see how everyone's doing. But
if they do that, do it as a one-off.
No
need to make another trilogy out of it.
One-off, Disney Plus TV show, something like that. But for what we know now this is the culmination of the Skywalker saga, the Skywalker generations, whatever you want to call it, whatever you see it as. This is the ending.
Yes. So I'm excited to see what they do there, and I do love that they've been able to describe some things, as canonical, with Star Wars Clone Wars and
such a good TV show.
Such a good TV show. And Rebels, and then obviously even Jedi Fallen Order, they managed to make that, they squeezed it into canon.
Yep.
And it's beautiful that they've managed to do that sort of thing. So have fun with your timelines.
Screw it.
Speaking of timelines, we go to our first movie, number 10 on this list for our Star Wars movies. It's actually the same.
Yeah, we both agreed on this one.
We both agreed on this one at the bottom of the list, and there's some good to it. There's some bad to it. We'll start off on the positives here, and then we'll get into why it's down where it is, I should say. But we've said it's one of these things where we love Star Wars. So offer us the disclaimer on our movie rankings.
We love all of these, we really do, but we still have to rank these movies. And
some things are better than others.
Yeah, and there are going to be problems. But with that being said, at number 10, it is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Yes. One of my biggest things that is pretty cool about it was I think that we try to see the next step of Obi-Wan, and kind of, it's not even necessarily Anakin developing, it's also about Obi-Wan too. Like, what does he turn into after beating Darth Maul, after losing his master, and being essentially rushed into becoming a Jedi Master.
Absolutely.
Things don't go well. It just, but at the same time, it's pretty cool to see, okay, what is this character that he was in just one of the movies, like, physically, but it was all throughout.
Yeah, I mean, Obi-Wan is truly one of the most prominent members of the entire saga.
And yet he had one of the least amounts of screen time in the original trilogy.
Yes.
But he was so revered and everything like that. But Obi-Wan's one of those things. But then there are several big things that are my positives. One, you get Jedi storming a battlefield. A bunch of lightsabers. Everyone that's watched Star Wars going into this movie and they see that, and like, that's the dream of Star Wars fans right there. Is a bunch of Jedi coming into battle and lightsabers everywhere. That's exactly what everyone would hope they would be able to see with a Star Wars movie at some point. And then also you get
my favorite thing. The introduction of the purple lightsaber. It is amazing. It is a beauty. And we talked about this too, off camera, is that the introduction of different colored lightsabers always have kind of a funny story or an interesting story of why they're actually in the movies now.
And this one has one of those.
Yeah, Sam Jackson both being kind of egotistical, but also just, he's a huge Star Wars nut. Wanted something that would stick out to be, he can point to himself and be like, yeah, that's me, like I have the purple one. But the purple lightsaber is so cool.
It really is.
And it also started off now with, the later generations also in like Attack of the Clones and stuff like, or not Attack of the Clones, but the Clone Wars, different lightsaber colors.
Yes.
Not just the big three, you have purple, yellow gets introduced, a black dark saber gets introduced. I mean, there's different color lightsabers all over, and it does really start with Mace Windu with the purple one. You can say it started in 6, but like the weird colors get thrown out with Sam Jackson.
The newer colors, the more different colors, they really do come about after this movie with Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, and one of the more beautiful colors that you can see. I mean, I'll admit it, with Jedi Fallen Order, when spoiler alert here if you're playing the video game, so I'm giving you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mute it right now if you haven't finished this part yet in the game. It's near the end, so if you're getting halfway through, don't listen to me. I bought you enough time. When I have to rebuild a lightsaber, I use the purple crystal.
I'm gonna use purple or yellow. I already know that.
I use the purple crystal. In the game right away, once you get to start customizing your lightsaber, which first off, that's a brilliant thing that they brought in.
Absolutely.
I need to talk about that. That's a separate thing. Maybe we rank the Star Wars games next. I don't know. But in the lightsaber customization, almost right away you can choose between blue and green. And if you pre-ordered it, you could also get orange. I did not pre-order it. But right away I went to green. Because I love that color. I mean, case in point right here. I mean, look at how beautiful this bitch is.
Yeah, there's a reason I picked purple and the green.
so that's one of those things where you get to see more of the colors though, and it's beautiful. Like, I get to see more green lightsabers.
Yep.
And
then heavily prominent.
And purple becomes a thing. And again, when I picked, like, I love purple as a lightsaber color as well.
Absolutely, yep.
So like when I had a chance to pick it, I did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like, also I've been rocking green most of the game. So I was like, hey, you know what? Go with purple.
Change it up now. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. So that's one of those things where it's just like, okay, let's see what happens here. And you get one of the coolest lightsabers, the lore of it as well, the mysterious ways with Mace Windu coming into effect as well. And again, you get a bunch of Jedi just storming in. You get to see Yoda fight for the first time ever. And unfortunately, though, other than that,
it's kind of where the positives do end.
It's probably, I would say, the shortest list of positives.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt, this is going to be the shortest list of positives. Do you want to start with the first negative, or do you want me to do it?
My personal negative, the first one I go with, is that most times in this one, it is boring. There's not enough action. I mean, even other movies like The Phantom Menace, where they're trying to introduce pretty much literally everything, there's more action there than there is in this movie. And there's a lot of Senate talks. Look, man, if I want to watch politics stuff like that, I'll go to C-SPAN. Don't give me this all the damn time. Come on, not cool. And this is me being kind of a jerk here, but it's like probably I would say the most annoying C-3PO is, and that's saying something.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that as well.
High key, I hate C-3PO.
He's not my favorite of the droids.
He's the worst of them.
Yeah, C-3PO has a special place, I think, most of our hearts. But to be fair, C-3PO is that friend no one wants along for the ride.
Yes.
And he always winds up on the road trip.
And he always whines to you.
Yeah, he's the guy that, like, without saying it, always wants to pee, always wants to stop for snacks. He knows everything. And you're just like, God, why are you our friend? But yeah, this is definitely his probably most annoying. But you are right. This is definitely the most boring of the movies, just because it takes forever to get to the Battle of Geonosis, which is the Jedi storming it, and even then, leading up to it, there's not much interesting stuff going on. And I will say that a lot of the boringness does also come from my biggest gripe, and one that you'll hear a lot when describing the prequels, but when everyone says that, a lot of the lines they're using are from this movie, and that is the dialogue's bad. It's actually terrible. When we do say we enjoy all these movies, we do. But I have the most fun picking fun at Attack the Clones.
Yes. If there's a way to really judge all these things, we're a pair of snarky dickheads.
Yeah.
And the best way you could find out our rankings here is how often we can make fun of something. Another point here. Boba Fett is introduced as this stupid little kid. First off, why did the prequels have to make the introductions of certain characters just like these little children?
I didn't need to see
I didn't need that.
5-year-old Boba Fett. I also didn't need to see 9-year-old Anakin. That'll be a thing when we get to, the Phantom Menace, but with the Attack of the Clones also.
Why did I need to see 5-year-old Boba Fett holding?
I didn't need that. His dad's head. Why? It's not emotional. Boba's a villain. Like I don't need to sympathize with every.
Boba's a punk ass too. Well, you'll hate me on that one, but I do not respect Boba Fett at all.
He goes on like a bitch.
Goes on like a
bitch. What the comics say. He did.
He goes on like such a bitch.
It became a term of being Boba Fetted. Like he's so interesting and
he's taken out by a blind man.
Yeah, it's terrible. But going back to the dialogue, it's just really what happens here. And I like a lot of George Lucas movies. I have just previously seen American Graffiti, which I know a lot of people, if you know Star Wars, that was kind of George Lucas's beginnings. And there's bad dialogue and there's good dialogue in every single Star Wars movie. But man, the guy can't write love dialogue. And I know a lot of people are probably saying, well, Empire Strikes Back, I love you, I know. That was Harrison Ford coming in and going, no, that he wouldn't say that. He was supposed to say I love you too or whatever, and that's fine. But in this, Star Wars is always supposed to be a space opera. That's kind of how a lot of people do describe it. And I think George tried to go into kind of like a Shakespearean story, because that's what the prequel trilogy is supposed to be, is a Shakespearean tragedy. And it has strong elements of that. It didn't need that dialogue. I don't need to hear Anakin confessing his love by using every adjective that he knows. I don't need Padme saying, I truly, deeply love you. Just say, I love you. Like, sometimes less words is more.
I don't need Anakin describing how he hates sand.
Yeah, I don't need that. There doesn't need to. Honestly, like, some of the best moments in the prequels is when no one says anything and there's just music, or there's like facial acting and stuff like that, which we'll get to later. But I think that's been my biggest problem. The overuse of CGI is something that a lot of people go to, and I do agree with that. But really, what does bog these movies down for me is that the clunky dialogue. And to be fair, we're seeing a lot of these actors, like Natalie Portman, who is an award-winning actress.
Ewan McGregor,
Ian McDermott, like these guys are, and Samuel Jackson.
even Hayden Christensen's not terrible as an actor.
No, he's not. And there are moments in the prequels, we will get to those, because I will defend Hayden Christensen in these movies harder than I think most people will. But even I can't defend a lot
This
of his
movie does
dialogue.
not help him.
No, this movie does not help him, and it really is because of the dialogue. And I don't necessarily think George Lucas is that good of a director. I love him as a producer. I cannot say that enough. I think he truly is one of the top 5 producers of all time. But man, him as a director with his yes men, and these prequels, they have a lot of yes men in them. You can see that with some of the stuff, and I think the dialogue is a big part of that. People that would have challenged him on that. But he had a lot of people that were just like, Lucas, that's brilliant, that's going to be gorgeous. That really just watch the Phantom Menace documentary, like behind the scenes, and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's about an hour, and honestly, that's brilliant. Like, that is one of my favorite things of Star Wars.
And the yes man comes in, probably I would say, this is the last thing I think we'll talk about with this movie, in the creepiest line ever. When Padme goes ahead and tells Anakin, "Don't look at me like that," and he goes, "Why not?"
And he looks at her like,
and she said, it's weird, it's creepy, and then he just stares at him like
until the screen fades and we get to the next scene.
And he goes, "Yes, milady," and it's like, oh man,
I'm supposed to like
shower.
Anakin. Yeah, I'm supposed to like Anakin before he becomes Vader. I hate him at that point. Like, he creeps me the hell out. But moving on to number 9, then I guess now.
Yes, where he was just a little kid. We both agreed on this one. It's the Phantom Menace, and like we did with this one, like with the last one, we start heavy on the positives.
Absolutely.
First off, Duel of the Fates became a thing.
Duel of the Fates is amazing.
Amazing. The best piece of score in all of movies. Do not argue me. I'm not going to be even willing to listen.
Yeah, this is John Williams at his best with Star Wars, and he's done amazing work with Star Wars.
And he just,
but Duel of the Fates is his best.
To manage to go from having something as iconic as the original themes,
yeah, the Force
theme and the Force theme and the Star Wars theme, to come up with something else in battle score like Duel of the Fates was incredible. And
to the point now where, like, when people hear that, I mean, it gets them like amped up, and it's still used throughout Star Wars movies. It was used in, most recently, the Rise of Skywalker trailer. It was, some of that rendition was used. It was used later in the prequels. I mean, it is probably the most, outside of the Force theme and the Imperial theme, the most recognized Star Wars bit of music.
Yes, and it's just beautiful though that he was able to come in with what would be the reintroduction to Star Wars to an entirely new generation, and they even get their own song that just slaps.
Yeah, amazing theme. That's incredible.
It slaps. And in that score, though, was also probably one of the better battles you'd ever see when it comes to fight choreography with everything. And that's Darth Maul against Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first time we really got to see Jedi and Sith at their apex. I mean, at their primes. You have a young Sith Lord who isn't bogged down by his machinery or his suit of armor, or a Jedi that really isn't totally trained but is like going at it. No, these guys are complete and utter professionals. You can see one scene there, which a lot of people do know and have pointed out, when Obi-Wan kind of fakes out Maul and Qui-Gon goes in. You truly just, you see these guys at their prime. And Darth Maul, that's my other massive positive for this movie. Darth Maul is one of the coolest villains in cinema for how short of a time he had. And that was also at a time which we see now with villains in Star Wars. Everyone's got a gimmick. I mean, even now, lately, Kylo Ren with his crossguard saber.
This was the first one.
This was the first one that, like, a Sith had truly something different. And he had his saber staff or dual-bladed saber, however you want to describe it. But he was so intimidating.
Like,
this
at
is Ray
first,
Park
at
first, best.
Like, at first, he comes in just one saber against Qui-Gon.
Yeah, we don't really know if he's. Yeah, we only know if he's got just a longer handle. We have no idea what the hell was. Well, that
it's a cool handle looking thing, and he's fighting Qui-Gon. Everyone's trying to get the hell off of Tatooine, and then Qui-Gon escapes. Then we see it. He's standing there, and then bam, number 2 comes sticking out, and everyone just goes, "Oh my god!"
And of course, I mean, his theme, and I do count this as Maul's theme, the Duel of the Fates theme, rising as the blade comes out. But, going off this, and I think this would be my only tangent about what I would have done with the prequels, or I would have wanted. The one thing I would have changed is Darth Maul not dying in 1. I think that also kind of did hurt Attack of the Clones.
They do fix that with the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars, and that is my big point. Why Darth Maul is just such an interesting character, and when they gave him time to really broadcast it out, he has become such an icon, a fan favorite. One of the biggest moments of Star Wars Rebels, a later animation, was ultimately the final duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul.
Yes.
But I think that was one of the reasons why I'm ranking Phantom Menace over Attack of the Clones, is I like the villain more. Count Dooku's cool, but I would have much rather seen Obi-Wan and Maul part duh. And they're just, I would have loved to have given Obi-Wan a threat level, something that he's going after, because that's something we didn't totally hit on with Attack of the Clones. It didn't feel like Obi-Wan was doing much. He was playing detective for the Jedi Council, but there was really never a reason why. Like, he kept just going from point to point to point.
And then he even accidentally stumbles on Dooku and Geonosis.
Yeah, he just completely accidentally stumbles on them because he's following Jango Fett. To me, it would have been so much more interesting if, like, again, and this is another big negative for the Phantom Menace, Anakin being 9. Instead, let's have him be 14 or 15, a 5-year time jump, and we see Obi-Wan finally hearing about Maul again, and now this is why he's going after all these plans. This is why he's following this bounty hunter, because he hears that Darth Maul has resurfaced.
And now, before you keep going on this tangent, this brings us to some of the negatives of it.
Yes.
The child, Anakin Skywalker.
I hate children actors.
It's not their fault.
Except now. Finn Wolfhard. Oh, great.
It's not their fault. They're trying to do something that they're told to do, and it's just that they don't always have the emotional spectrum. But
absolutely,
I feel like Jake Young gets a lot of rap for this.
Jake Lloyd,
sorry. Jake Lloyd gets a lot of rap for this.
He does. It's terrible.
But you see strong actors like Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Samuel L. Jackson, like they all end up delivering clunky dialogue in this.
It's only going to get worse with
exactly. And the other part though is this: you start to see that Lucas has this over reliance on CGI, and of course, one of those things becomes the introduction of Jar Jar Binks,
who, if you ask many people in my family, is what killed Star Wars. Jar Jar is a brutal character.
Jar Jar is a brutal character, and yes, you do need to show that sometimes your crews have that guy.
Yeah.
But
this is also, I think, the first time outside of Return of the Jedi that Lucas was trying to have an overly fun character.
Yes, and like I get it, comic relief is fantastic sometimes, but you don't need a character to literally try to be that. There is a scene in The Phantom Menace where Jar Jar literally steps in crap. And that might be
shit jokes. Come on, guys.
Yeah, and that might just be the epitome of what was wrong with the character in itself.
Yeah.
You don't need that. You don't need that kind of comedy of errors all the time. And to those people who decide to theorize, was Jar Jar supposed to be the Sith?
Yes.
Was supposed to be a Sith
Yes.
Lord? No.
No, he was supposed to be a guy that we like.
He was supposed to be an idiot. Okay, that's all it was supposed to be. It's like, oh man, is he supposed to? He meant to do all this stuff. No, he didn't. He accidents his way through the war on Naboo to great results for him, but still, he's meant to be a putz.
Yep.
And unfortunately, too much putz is something that makes you go, why is he here?
Mm-hmm.
In a movie like Star Wars, where, yes, there are funny moments, there's levity, but you don't need a character all the time.
Yeah, there was never a character that dominated that. But I will say something else going along with characters, and another reason why I don't like that Anakin's so young. He does have a bit of a Gary Stu complex. The ending, most specifically, that trained Naboo pilots can't do it, but all of a sudden a 9-year-old kid all of a sudden can blow up the Trade Federation ship. It is a little weird.
It's a little weird, but
which is why I wish he was like 15 or so, because then it's like, okay, I can buy it.
I mean, you can see a little bit like of a, hey, this is a prodigy.
Yeah, which I mean, he is. I mean, I will say that they do show that he is a quick learner.
Yeah, it's this prodigy kid who is just suddenly good at this sort of thing. And it's like, okay, maybe we need to actually take a double check on this. But did he have to be 9 in order to showcase that stuff as a prodigy?
Not at
as
all.
a prodigy there, no. But at the same time, I can see why they did it.
Yeah. Going along with that.
Also, it's great though to be able to, and again, being snarky, make fun of the delivery of the line. Now this is pod racing. No, it's not.
It's the greatest line.
You blew things up. That's not pod racing.
Yeah, you're flying, idiot.
Like good.
Pod racing was gliding.
Good thing that there were machines in there, because otherwise murder is not pod racing.
Murder is not pod racing. But I will say this as well, because I know this is a big complaint for the Force Awakens, or not for not for the Force Awakens, for the Phantom Menace. The introduction of midichlorians, I never cared.
Yeah.
I always kind of saw it as like, well, it's whatever.
In order for someone to have the Force, there needs to be something there, I guess, is what it would be.
Did I need it? No. Does it ruin it for me? Not even a little bit. But speaking of that, the character that introduced that, kind of my last positive, and I know you agree with me on this, Qui-Gon Jinn's really interesting.
Yes, and that is one of the... It's a positive and a negative at the same time.
Yes.
Which is why we save it for last. Qui-Gon Jinn is a great character that is not, unfortunately, allowed to thrive more.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first off, in the original trilogy, there is no mention of this man, that master, who was the master for Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's no mention of him in these movies, in the original trilogy. So there's got to be a point very quickly where he is not there.
Yes.
But Mace Windu exists for 3 movies. Why couldn't Qui-Gon exist for another one? It's unfortunate because the thing is that Qui-Gon seems more like a rogue. He's a guy who does things his way, and he tends to get in trouble with the Jedi Council.
Qui-Gon is so dope.
I remember where there's a scene where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are walking, they're talking about Anakin, and he says, "Don't upset the Council, not again." And you're like, what happened the first time?
Yeah, I mean, we hear.
I'm very intrigued.
I hear a number of times that like Qui-Gon should be on the Council. If he would just follow their kind of direction or orders, he'd already be on the Council at this point.
And it's more like he uses his own intuition to do things and goes about it his way.
Yeah,
which is generally what I would think.
Qui-Gon is the first character up until the original trilogy, and this is for all of Star Wars, that truly does follow the will of the Force, not necessarily the light side of the Force.
He follows the will of the Force, and
thing.
maybe even the light side of the Force. It's just that he does not truly follow in lockstep the way of the Jedi.
Exactly.
And that's where things go interesting for me, because that's a character that I can truly resonate with. It's like, you use this and you use it for good, but are you going to listen to literally everything that's being said? No.
No. And that's where a lot of people have also talked about, and I've seen theory videos and all that stuff, what if Qui-Gon had lived and had been Anakin's master? Would he have eventually become Vader, or would have been more, he truly is in line with the Force and understands that there is a balance there? Because I think that's ultimately...
Also, Qui-Gon dealing with Order 66 probably could have been a badass scene.
It could have been badass and kind of tragic too, but it was sweet.
Like, first off, Liam Neeson,
always a win.
Liam Neeson didn't kill enough people in that movie.
He killed battle droids. He didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, he didn't kill anybody, and then his character even dies, which is like, that's the opposite of any Liam Neeson movie ever. But oh well, it's what happens. But again, Qui-Gon Jinn was a character that could have been dug deeper into, and it was good though to see that they did play it the right way in how he goes out. It's against a very skilled Sith Lord in Darth Maul.
Absolutely.
But it's unfortunate that you could have had a character that really could have been dug deeper into. And maybe like Anakin questions, hey, why don't we do things more like Qui-Gon? And then that's like a baby step into his descent. It would be something just as innocuous as that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so...
the first one we're going to disagree on.
Apparently, I don't know how to write numbers, by the way.
Do you want me to go into 8 then for me first?
Yes, because
we
first off, I know what it is that I'm missing, and I just need to write it down.
Okay. So for me, number 8, and I know it's going to kind of catch Derek by surprise, and it caught me by surprise as well. I've been rewatching these movies now that finals are over with, and I want to catch up going into episode 9 and this video as well. But number 8 for me is The Force Awakens. Here's why. I'm gonna start with the positives right off the bat. I think the sequel trilogy especially are the best acted of the entire saga. That includes Last Jedi, which we'll get into later. But for me, The Force Awakens, what does hurt it a little bit, for me, number 1, the twist, which is of course, spoiler if you haven't seen it, but it's been a minute, so you don't deserve that.
Also, if you're going to see the movie and you're watching this podcast, you've had to have seen The Force Awakens. At minimum, if you're watching the sequel trilogy, you've seen this one.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to spoil it. Yeah. We don't need a spoiler warning on this.
But for me, the death of Han Solo, I'll get into it later. It just didn't have the same kick to me as I think it should have. I knew it was coming, so it hurt. And I do think Han probably should have actually died in the original trilogy. That's a thing.
Harrison Ford said
its own thing. Harrison Ford said it. I fully believe it. We'll get a why later.
Let me tell you a quick story.
Oh, go. Yep.
About how I got people sneering at me and looking at me when I realized Han Solo was going to die.
Oh, you told me this, yeah.
So, no shit, there was in the theater, and Han is on the bridge, and he yells, "Ben!" And I go, oh, that fucker's dead.
It's just logically in the theater.
I said it audibly, I didn't say it loudly, but I said it audibly, and I had people immediately looking at me.
Yeah.
Because I knew, hey, I'm not a dummy. I've seen movies before.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna die.
Yep.
Like, it's a big old bridge. It's a guy with a lightsaber versus a guy who doesn't have one, and everybody else is way too far to be able to save him. And I just go, well, he's dead, and and I just get. I didn't, because that was not an opening day thing. That was just a lifetime, like.
Oh, so people thought you just.
People thought I was spoiling it. That was just a lifetime reaction of,
That's
uh-oh.
Oh, but yeah, so I mean, like, for me, I fully saw it coming pretty much exactly how you did too, where it's like he said Ben
I
Wentz
just said
is
it.
dead.
I just said it loudly. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, he's dead.
But another big thing, which is something you're going to hear a lot from me, because I am a very character-driven story. The acting doesn't need to be great, but if I like the characters, I am fully invested in the movie. I don't like a lot of the characters in these movies.
The usage isn't necessarily always there.
Yes.
I feel like Finn is a guy that you need to strongly develop more of.
And that is my thing. And a lot of my hate for, not even hate, because I don't hate this movie, but a lot of my dislike for Force Awakens does come from the later movie of The Last Jedi, which we'll get into that later. But I think a big thing for me is, number one, I don't like Kylo Ren as a villain. I think he's actually kind of, not to swear a whole lot in this video, but I think he's a bit of a bitch. He's not very imposing. He has a very imposing scene in the beginning where, we see him stop like a laser bolt. And it's like, oh my, how'd you do that? And then from then on, he's whiny. And I've seen a lot of people
Most
say,
Star Wars main characters are, though. You see
True.
Anakin Skywalker. Luke is a whiny little brat.
but we see them progress, and it doesn't see. Kylo stays on this path into The Last Jedi, and I doubt he's going to change into The Rise of Skywalker much either. But I've seen a lot of people say this is Anakin Skywalker done right, and I don't agree with that at all. Don't be wrong. I think this is some of the best acting you're going to see in a Star Wars movie. Adam Driver, if you haven't seen The Marriage Story, watch that. He's incredible. Along with that, it is a rehash of A New Hope with less interesting characters. No one in this movie is Han Solo. No one is as interesting or as badass as Leia. Han is okay in, I guess, the Obi-Wan role of this movie, but he's not the Obi-Wan character. He never should be. But yeah, it is a rehash of A New Hope. Starkiller Base is a thing, which, by the way, going into Last Jedi, apparently that didn't mean much that they lost that. But ultimately, my biggest problem with this is, yes, I don't like the villain at all. I don't think he's imposing, and a lot of that does come from the fact is I don't like the hero. It's not that I don't like that she's a woman. I love Ahsoka Tano. She's one of my top 3 favorite characters in Star Wars. It's not even really a debate. It goes Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and then the rest fall as they may. Those are my top 3. My problem is Rey comes in, starts off really cool. She is a scavenger, the whole thing. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's different. She's alone. Okay, cool. I dig that. My problem is Rey doesn't fail.
Yeah.
Ever. She may fail in a mental struggle, or she may get caught and be in a struggle, but Rey doesn't lose. Rey doesn't suffer physically or really even emotionally. People have told me, well, she lost Han. She knew Han for about 5 minutes, or let's say 5 days. She was, and even Finn, she doesn't really lose him. He lives the whole thing. My problem really does start at the end of the movie, and that's kind of where I look back at the rest of the movie. I'm like, damn, I don't like that she beats Kylo Ren, who has now, as we've seen after The Last Jedi, is either our main villain or our secondary villain, filling the Vader spot. As we'll hear later, Luke doesn't fight Vader in A New Hope, loses badly in Empire Strikes Back, and only really beats him because he delves into the dark side in Return of the Jedi. We start the sequel trilogy off with me already going, yo, Kylo sucks.
Yeah, it is kind of a problem that you made her too good too quickly.
There's nowhere else for her to go
but
up,
let me
or to stagnate.
But now it's time for me to go ahead and say
in your movie.
What I will do here is I'm going to save the positives for Force Awakens
Okay,
when I get to it.
Yes.
But there are some really badass moments in it that make it really
Absolutely
shine.
Absolutely, I agree.
My number 8, and this is not a knock against this movie at all, it is Solo, a Star Wars story. Solo was a fantastic movie exactly for what it was. It is supposed to just be a separate movie describing a character that is just allowed to be its own thing. It's supposed to be canonical in a sense, yes. My problem, though, with Solo is that it focuses too much on one little thing that was a prop. The dice.
The dice.
It focuses way too much on it. I love the story
Because
of
of the
Han
Last
Solo trying to become this, trying to
Become the Solo that we know.
become Han Solo that we know. But he seems more of a hero type in this movie instead of what he was introduced as. Our first introduction to Han Solo, he cold-blooded shoots a bounty hunter in the chest.
It doesn't blink.
He has no remorse over it. We see in Solo a hero type. Yes, that's what Han Solo becomes, but that arc happens in A New Hope. We don't need it here.
And it's not even really completed until like halfway through Empire.
Yes, and like Han Solo, like the sacrifice saying, I love you, I know. Like, he knows things are not going to go well here for him. But we didn't need Han Solo the hero. And that's what he really is in Solo. I do like a lot of the aspects of this movie, though. The character in itself was well acted. I thought that everything was pretty cool in the main characters of the movie. I just really thought, though, that they focused way too much on two things. One, making Han Solo look like a good guy, and two, the fact that he's got this girlfriend that he's always trying to chase, and turns out it's just she's great, but it's just like I don't get, like, Woody Harrelson was right in that movie. Like,
yes,
he's like, don't go after her, stop.
Even though she's Amelia Clarke, which I would have failed. State of fact.
But again, it's just like, you didn't need to make him a true hero.
Yes. Everything
that he does in this movie seems to be heroic, and you don't have any sort of sense that he's the badass smuggler. How did he become a smuggler? We don't get that.
Yeah, we more see just a bank robbery type movie, which would have been, but it's not a smuggler. What I wanted to see was that he's incredibly quick on his feet.
He's got to be ethically gray a little bit in this movie, and he's not.
They give him moments, which I'll get into because, just spoiler,
because
Solo was 7 for me, so I'll get into some of those moments.
Yeah, but like, for me, like, my biggest problem was he's a hero type. In A New Hope, he's convinced to save Princess Leia because of the potential money.
Money, that's it. That's literally it. And even halfway through that rescue, he's like, this is stupid. I'm not going to get paid enough for this.
Yeah, and then he goes to leave and comes back. Like he was going to leave.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be a hero type here. And again, I do love a lot of what the movie was. And I do love a lot of the heroic antics, but that's the double-edged sword in all of this, or the double-bladed lightsaber in all of this, is that you have a character that is supposed to be shown initially as morally gray, but leaning toward good. And the antics of Solo in this movie, they are great. I love a lot of what happens in the movie, and trying to tell the story of the Kessel Run was fantastic.
That's gonna be my big point too of why it's at 7 for me. Is I think the Kessel Run sequence is gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It is a great.
And
thing
it also
that
proves
does.
to why Han, when in A New Hope, when he says, "I've seen like the edge of the galaxy to the next." Well, yeah, he saw some like Lovecraftian shit in the Kessel Run. Like he's seen some stuff where he can not believe in the Force and be like, "Yeah, no, I just give me a blaster, I'll be good."
Yeah. So, it does do a lot of things really well. I just thought that my biggest problem with him and why it's all the way down at 8 for me is you made him something that he wasn't. Not when we were initially introduced to him. You made him what he is, but not what he wasn't initially in A New Hope. So that was my biggest problem with it.
Yep.
Otherwise, though, it was a great movie, and it was something that I enjoyed knowing. I was going into it knowing this is a different interpretation of Han Solo. I'm going to see it for what it is, and that it is a one-off thing. It's supposed to just be an introduction to a character. It's not supposed to make sense for me. But critically looking at it, you made him into something that he's not, and that's the major reason is this movie is down at 8. Because otherwise, a lot of what is done in this movie is fantastic.
He's good. It's at 7 for me. I mean, it's a bit above The Force Awakens, just because I do like the characters. I love Han Solo. I do completely agree. He is too close to being a hero at this point because he's still young. In this movie, he meets Chewie. I mean, which is
the way that happens actually is pretty good.
I
they
do
pulled
actually
it off
really enjoy
really
it.
well.
That's one of my favorite parts. But I actually wish he was more in line of how Amelia Clarke's character is. She's a bit of a backstabber, not a great person. I would have much rather him,
or even Lando's character.
And that is a big positive for me Lando in this movie is fantastic.
Yes, he's great in this movie, and like the way that you see him get jobbed is
It's awesome.
It's
awesome.
kind of funny, but at the same time, like you see him peace out near the end, and it's like,
But you know,
Lando.
Yeah, the Kessel Run is great. You understand why Lando and Han are good friends, but also they take the piss out of each other. You understand that. But yeah, it's kind of my big problem is that Han is too close to being a hero. I would have much rather him been not a dark character, but definitely gray, because this is still his younger days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just love this because I'm a huge fan of the character. The Darth Maul reveal at the end, not totally needed. But it was kind of dope that they introduced that to not maybe as hardcore Star Wars fans who had watched the Clone Wars and knew he was alive.
Yes.
I loved it because my dad actually watched this and even he looked at me and goes, like, and he's like, Maul's alive. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, he's got robotic legs and everything. He's like,
Yeah.
oh sweet, let's go.
Yeah,
So like, I love that stuff. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a standalone movie. One I did not ask for. One I don't think that was 100% needed. But ultimately, I enjoyed it. It's a,
Yeah. That's the other thing.
It's better than a lot of the other ones that we could have gotten.
And one of its positives will always remain, and like another movie on this list that's much higher, you don't need a lightsaber for a good Star Wars movie.
Absolutely.
And they still do this pretty well. They do a great job storytelling with this one. The characters are actually well fleshed out. It's just, again, for me, you didn't have to make him a hero, but you did pull it off pretty well.
They pulled it off still fairly well.
They made it, like, for what that was, they made it look pretty good, how he was supposed to be this guy that we all know as a hero of the Rebel Alliance. And they went too far into that way, but they pulled it off pretty well.
They pulled it off fine.
And no, they did a great job with that. So now to my number 7. I round out the prequel trilogy before we even get halfway home. The Revenge of the Sith. There are some beautiful things about this.
I'm gonna save all my positives for later.
Yes.
I won't even talk during this one.
There are beautiful things about this movie. The fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin at the end is one of the best lightsaber duels in all of the movies. And I loved the Darth Maul fight. There are some great ones still to go. This is one of them that is up at the top for a lot of reasons. And one of them is just the fact that we've seen the descent of Anakin Skywalker, and you want Obi-Wan wants to still believe in him, even up until the end when they are shouting at each other while floating on things above lava. Obi-Wan still wants to believe in him. He doesn't want to kill him, and he still doesn't kill him, which now brings me to one of my fundamental problems. It makes Obi-Wan look like an idiot.
That's something I like.
It makes Obi-Wan look really stupid when he's got the man down dead to rights. First off, it's probably better as a Jedi to mercy kill him at that point than just let him burn. Second, Obi-Wan seems to fail at a lot of things as a teacher. The dude still can't beat a damn Sith Lord to save his life outside of Darth Maul.
That is a hard fact.
Like Dooku toys with Obi-Wan right away and knocks him out, and then that's how Anakin just straight up murders Count Dooku. General Grievous was not a thing I needed. I didn't need a lightsaber wielding droid who had a coughing problem.
Yeah. That's not great. I won't defend that.
I didn't need Jedi.
I won't defend that.
I would have much rather had another Sith Lord there. Like, come on. Like, the rule of 2 needing to be there? No, like, you're Sith. You could always break that.
They do in the Clone Wars.
They
You
do
just
in
have
the Clone
Sith
Wars.
acolytes.
Yeah, like, you could have the Inquisitors sort of being a thing, like, starting up as a thing there. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to it. There are still a lot of great things, though. The action is much better paced throughout this one. Probably easily the most action-packed of the prequel trilogy. It is back and forth, everything like that. But again, you make the Jedi out to be gods, and then they get cut down by eventual stormtroopers.
About 20 clones each.
Sometimes not even 20.
Sometimes they just need to shoot him in the back.
Yeah. And
Actually, most of the time, just shoot him in the back.
does it make them more mortal? Yes. It allows you to show that, yes, even if they're a little careless or even taken by surprise, the deities that you have built up in the Jedi could even be beaten by those things. But I have seen for the longest time heading into this movie that they are very good at what they do. And to see them all of them just getting mowed down, it's tragic. This is part of a positive now too, though. It's tragic and it's heartbreaking, and it's something that it hurts to see it happening, because like these are the ones that you look at Star Wars and go, oh man, like as a kid you're like, I want to be a Jedi. in any Star Wars game. You try to pick a path that
not
allows you to
ideal
get to
after Order 66.
Yeah, now it's not a good thing. Now it's not only not a good thing, it's just the ways that it goes out. It just, they're all taken by surprise, which that part is very well executed, and it shows how did it all happen. How did the Empire come about? That they did a great job with that. Unfortunately, we see more Jar Jar. Unfortunately, he becomes a main cog in part of the descent of the Republic. You could have done it with something else. The love story, again, cringeworthy.
Not ideal.
Not ideal.
They have one good scene together.
They have one good scene together. And of course, then there is Anakin killing the younglings.
That is one of my only real big negatives of this movie, which we've talked about.
Does it have to be children? Because that ruins the redemption of Darth Vader.
Yup, there it is.
Because now, as his body's being burned and his ghost comes back in Return of the Jedi, now people go ahead and go, you killed a bunch of kids.
Yeah, and
how do you get a Force ghost?
Yeah, and this is just me. I've seen a lot more people agreeing with this too. I was never totally on board with Vader's redemption anyways. I always saw it as Luke saw him as redeemed. Everyone else can be like, you did one good thing. Bad before that. Still a dick.
You did it for one person.
But now, after Revenge of the Sith, it is much harder to see himself as redeemed after that one good deed, especially when that one good deed was helping out his own son. It wasn't like he just saved a random person. And that's where, to me, Vader is still, at best, a gray character when he dies.
Yes.
I think for the most part, he still probably digs the dark side more than the Jedi, which is something you do see in Revenge of the Sith. He probably still is like, no, the Jedi suck. He's right and wrong in that sense, but
I didn't need him to be murdering children.
I needed badass Darth Vader, not, oh wow, you are not a good human being in the slightest.
And you also see, and this is another part of this movie that really doesn't help the character of Darth Vader, Anakin goes out like a punk. And you're just supposed to tell me that he gets this new machinery and new body and he's suddenly the badass that we know in episode 4? Come on, I saw the guy go down because someone was standing up a hill.
I think that hurts him more is because we don't see him kill any other real Jedi.
No, he kills Count Dooku and that's it.
And that's it. We don't see him, mow down. Because, again, leading up to this movie, Anakin is supposed to be like the prized jewel of the Jedi Order. And we're kind of set up to that, too. We see him be a massive hero in the beginning of the movie. So I want to see him, like, mow down other Jedi and just show me truly how powerful he is. But also, how good Obi-Wan is.
Yes.
Because we eventually should be able to see that where we're like, okay, now I get why, he's General Kenobi, he's Master Obi-Wan. I understand that now. Instead, it's like, he just kills a bunch of children, which look, we get that happens, and I get the movie needs to be dark, but I would have liked to have seen him mow down Jedi Masters and Knights and really show me, as like Order 66 happens, he becomes more powerful. Because I do agree with the point that you need to do dark deeds to get dark power, that is the dark side, I get that. He can have dark deeds be killing Jedi Masters, his old friends. I would have much rather have seen we see Jedi Masters begging Anakin to not do this, and he's stone cold.
Hence, where a character like Qui-Gon Jinn could have been part of the answer here.
Either Qui-Gon or...
Like, Qui-Gon's defending the kids, and then Anakin kills him and the children. Like, you could do that then. Like, he could still be, like, this heartless douche that kills children. Oh, man, it's terrible to see it like that. Like, I didn't need the children scene. I didn't.
It doesn't make him a badass
especially
villain.
now
It makes him a monster that's not cool.
Especially now in this climate where we see unfortunate things like school shootings like that on the semi-regular
that degree, which
unfortunately he's now the lightsaber version of that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. We're not saying you should root for Vader anyways, but Vader was always this imposing menace and he was cool. I mean, like he wore the black suit, and now it's like
it was a villain you can go ahead and nod your head to and go, okay, this guy's badass.
Yeah, respect. We'll get to probably his most badass moment soon, but it's here. I'm just like, oh my god, why?
Yeah.
Like, and that's my thing. It wasn't needed.
It diminishes a lot of the characters in this one, and then they have to hurry up after spending way too much time on other crap in the other 2 movies. They have to hurry up and shoehorn everybody into position for A New Hope.
Yes.
And Yoda retreats after basically not losing against Palpatine and really keeping up with him the entire time. Obi-Wan runs away after what he should have done the right thing and just end Anakin right there. Padme with the childbirth, and then she's suddenly just not allowed to exist, which actually had a problem with continuity because Leia in Return of the Jedi does mention that she sees her mother's face.
Oh, yeah, she like fully remembers.
She knows her mother's face. Padme didn't need to die like that then. Not like that. Not so quickly right after childbirth. Like, they did a lot of things execution-wise that were wrong. That's why it's down there. But the action, fantastic. Kashyyyk battle, great. Obi-Wan versus Anakin, fantastic. Count Dooku rematch was also really good. Like,
yes,
they did a lot of great things. Even Obi-Wan against General Grievous, an unnecessary character for me. They did a great job with that battle, and probably the best GIF meme that I always like to whip out there.
Hello there.
Hello there. So
I can't wait to talk.
And
about
that character of Obi-Wan is fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. So your number 7 was Solo. Mine was Revenge of the Sith.
And now my number 6 is
a tie.
It's
the same
Jedi.
thing.
It is The Last Jedi.
That was the one I forgot to write down, by the way.
Was it really? Oh
Yes.
man, I it's not that I knew right where that one was gonna be because I didn't, but it was like that was the one I knew I had to get in there. But do you want me to start with The Last Jedi?
Yeah, go for it.
With me,
I just went on an entire diatribe on Revenge of the Sith, so take it.
So for me with The Last Jedi, it is at 6. It is above Force Awakens, which may shock some people because, again, I'm not a fan of The Last Jedi. But a lot of my problems with The Last Jedi actually do come from The Force Awakens, and I'm going to start with my first problem. In the original trilogy, there are time skips. I think time skips, especially in a trilogy, help it so drastically. It allows for character growth without showing it, which is key. I think it really does help a story, and it allows us to put people in positions that we didn't need to see. My biggest problem with The Force Awakens that I didn't talk about because I want to talk about here, while it was cool in the moment, ending with us seeing Luke Skywalker for the first time and no dialogue actually hurts The Last Jedi more. Look, I get that people want a different movie. I did too. I want a completely different story. So it would have been much better for me if like Luke saves Rey and Finn at the end of The Force Awakens, and that lightsaber pull scene is Luke returning, and it's his grand moment, and allows Rey to see a true Jedi Master, and all of us to see Luke and his grandiose flair and all that stuff, and then we get a lightsaber fight.
I liked the end. I did like the end of Force Awakens where it was just like it was the mystery of you actually found.
Oh, I did too. I did too.
You
Absolutely.
did not need it to be right away in this movie. Like you're still like she's still standing there right away.
Yeah, I didn't need the opening to the movie being that, and especially, and this continues on, Rey continues to be, and I don't like using this because it always does seem very sexist, and it's kind of a rude thing to say. Rey has become now the definition of a Mary Sue character. You can explain it away all you want. I love Daisy Ridley. I think she does a phenomenal job as an actress in these roles. Rey is not an interesting character in the least. She's incredibly overpowered. They can use the excuse that because Kylo Ren's got more powerful, so is Rey. Okay, that kind of bothers me because that means Kylo Ren does all of the work and she kind of just reaps the rewards. And again, doesn't lose. And that is a big problem for me that, you brought it up with Revenge of the Sith. Ultimately, Kylo and Rey's big moment is a stalemate.
Oh, but man, that battle before it
But I will say that
amazing.
One of my favorite parts, and I don't give a shit that if you slow it down, all of a sudden you can see people missing. That happens in every action movie ever. It's called choreography, and they're not actually hitting each other, people. That doesn't actually happen.
No.
It is a gorgeous scene. For the first time in this trilogy so far, I actually see Kylo Ren as a badass. He is mowing people down. He's using a crossguard saber like backwards and forwards. He actually looks like a trained professional. It looks like this has been his life, his entire life.
Yeah.
But my problem with that scene does continue on in the fact that, Rey has to save him in the end, that she survives. She does the Arya Stark move, which that is the one move I will complain in that scene. That will never work. It doesn't even look cool. It makes no sense to me. I can't stand it.
I liked that. Because what happens, there's strategies involved.
Strategies involved, but all the
it.
dude had to do was move that. Regardless, my favorite move in that is actually when she throws the lightsaber over
to
Ben Solo and he kills him. One thing I know
there was a lot of that fight. Like there was a lot of strategy involved, cooperation.
I love when they work together.
enemies.
I love when they work together, which is a point I'm going to get to in a minute, talking about the ending and why I didn't like a lot of the ideas in this movie. Going on through that, I know a lot of people didn't like the death of Snoke. I was actually kind of fine with it.
Yeah.
If they would have went a certain way. And that is ultimately the ending. I know a lot of people say this movie takes risks. I think it half-heartedly does, and I think this is a problem I do have with Rian Johnson at times, especially in movies like Looper, where it's interesting, and we're dipping. We're going back. I love Kylo Ren's rant, even if it's right and wrong. I love his rant about let the past die, let the Jedi, let the Sith die. I love that because it always felt like these movies were teetering towards gray Jedi, a balance of the Force. In the prequels, we saw that if you hold on to people too hard, the light side can turn so quickly into the dark side. And we saw in the original trilogy that no, there doesn't need to be a light and a dark. There's always that middle ground. Luke beats his dad because he goes to the dark side, but he ultimately is a good person.
And then he ultimately wins because he returns to the light, and Darth Vader's the one that then goes and embraces it as well.
Yeah, that family connection is what brings
the balance,
Vader together. That balance,
the balance, and I do love that they do that, and it's something that they're really trying to keep going with. Now, here are some things that I absolutely love about this movie.
Yeah, you hit the points that you like.
I love these following things. One, Poe Dameron being a snarky butthole right at the start of the movie.
I like that they make him a badass still.
They make him a badass.
They didn't pipe down his piloting skills. He is still so elite.
He's still so good at what he does.
He is a prodigy in terms of flying.
But he fails.
Oh,
essentially, in the start of the movie.
And that's my problem. He fails a lot in this movie.
He fails a lot in this movie, and is the most relatable character, I would say.
By far, and he gets the least amount of screen time so far in this sequel.
He did a great job. Like, he shows his badassery as a pilot right away, and then he goes gung-ho, sending a bunch of people and bombers in there, and it does not work a lot of the time. He does win in the end, but it comes at a heavy loss and getting slapped by Leia. So Poe Dameron's character in this one was fantastic. Another great thing for me here was that battle with Kylo and Rey against the guards. Beautiful stuff. Here's something, though, that I really like about the sequel trilogy. Non-Force users using weaponry to fight even up to the capabilities against Jedi. And the one deciding factor is they have the Force and you don't. But you are just as skilled in combat.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And that's something that the Jedi Fallen Order game does pretty well, too.
Yes, which I like,
like, non-Force users still can use this weaponry if trained properly.
And that's what makes Mandalorians so cool and lore, is that they don't have the Force, but they can keep up with Jedi.
Yeah, so it's just, like, you can make sure to say that, like, hey kid, guess what? You can wield a lightsaber even if you're not a Jedi. You're just not going to have the awesome powers that come along with it. But you can still use it. And then finally, the other big thing was Luke. The character redeems himself in a huge way because he comes off as a jerk right away, which I did not understand. I was not a huge fan of it, but what do we get throughout it? We see why Ben Solo turned, because Luke once again could not win against the dark side right away.
Luke is a failure throughout the saga.
Luke is a
which is something, after you talked to me about, I have started to agree. I'm not the biggest fan of where Luke went, like, in terms of that. I'm okay with, like, old man Luke being like a disgruntled dude and like pissed off. I don't like how they
they did it,
but I'm okay with disgruntled Luke.
I do like, though, the fact that he is dealing with failure.
Yeah.
And he's not taking it well. Because they're real life. If we have something that hits us, sometimes we don't take it well. And it's very relatable. But then Luke comes in throughout the end of it, and it all starts with a snarky line. What, do you want me to go up against the Empire by myself? And then he actually literally goes and does it.
He does it.
And that part is beautifully hilarious, but also fantastically executed at the same time, because he's not really there. That leads me to my ultimate favorite part of this. Luke, the Spectre, in front of everything when you find out that he's not real. Oh my God.
See you later, kid.
I probably almost crapped myself when that one first came out. Yeah, just boom. Oh, great, he's not dead. Oh my God. And then just I'll see you later, kid. And just like, my God.
I think also like him looking at the twin suns and vanishing. I think that's a very good death for Luke.
Yes.
It's one that I would have, because I think that's my thing too, is as someone that did look up to Luke Skywalker, because I'll get to that later, even though he's not one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars characters, he is one of my favorite characters of all time. But I wouldn't have liked to have Kylo legitimately strike him down, or Snoke strike him down, or even have a Yoda death where he kind of just drifts away. I do think I like the fact that ultimately the Force.
He went out
himself.
like a badass.
Yeah, he exerted himself to give those guys enough time. I do like that. Can I hit my one big negative though,
real quick? I just want to keep this on this final point with Luke though.
Yeah.
Is like you see him struggle to be the head of the Jedi Order. You get the backstory of what happened, what went wrong, and then to see him go, no, don't do this, don't go out there, like you're not ready for this yet. And then Yoda basically comes in and says,
failure is the greatest teacher.
Failure is the greatest teacher, and we are what our students pretty much become.
Yeah.
Like that is our legacy. And for that to really resonate there, and then Yoda just goes, Force lightning, light your tree on fire. Light your tree on fire and light all the lore on fire, because that's something that needs to happen. Which leads me to my major negative. And I'll let you carry on after this. You didn't need to give a middle finger to everybody.
Yeah, that's my second biggest negative.
You didn't need to do that all the damn time. The blue milk, that's a middle finger. Luke tossing his lightsaber away after it's handed to him. Middle finger. Yoda in that inspirational quote, and Kylo Ren saying, leave the past behind, kill it if you need to. Middle finger.
I think that only needed to be the
it was a theme.
But yeah, that line that should have been the only one. Because that's ultimately Kylo's arc, but it felt like it was everybody's arc.
It was the story, it was the theme for me. It's look, I get it. You don't need to like a movie for nostalgia's sake. But it seems like almost as if this movie was directly flipping off The Force Awakens. And you didn't need to go
the
so
Force Awakens, the original trilogy,
yeah,
and
like
the prequel trilogy. I'm like, damn, dude, shit.
Yeah,
and I think that's where a lot of the anger from fans got to, and that's where I don't agree with people when they say it's the worst Star Wars movie. It's not. Have you literally?
It's F6.
Have you watched Attack of the Clones? Please.
Oh my god, I forgot my other positive. I cannot believe I left this out.
All right, real quick. But like that's where people are being aggressive on this movie because it's gorgeous.
Yes,
it is gorgeous. I think I know what your positive is. Say it real quick, but yeah.
No, I'm gonna leave it for last now.
Okay, but the film is gorgeous. It's well acted. There are bad moments like Canto Bight. The lack of Finn being even a remotely interesting character when he was by far either him or
he was
Paul
your best character in The Force Awakens.
Real quick, my biggest negative, so you can hit the biggest positive, we can move on. Going back to like those ideas of let the past die and all that stuff and the Gray Jedi, this is my problem with Rian Johnson. Not only just the middle fingers, and this is why I don't want him directing a Star Wars movies, because he does this with his half-baked ideas like in Looper. The movie should have gone with Rey and Kylo joining together, not as Jedi, not as Sith, but as something entirely different, as people who are finding a balance in the Force. Because we know Kylo's dealing with his issues of the dark side and the light side, and we know Rey is. You know, she went right into the dark pit, but she's a good guy. We know that. I would have loved if we saw these two not become Supreme Leader of the First Order, not the leader of the Resistance. They go off together, and so that means when the introduction of Palpatine comes up, it fits better, it flows better to me. You know, you're already pushing these two have a connection, which I loved. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was the connection these two had. I love those scenes. But if the movie had ended with those two coming together as not Jedi, as not Sith, but as something different, it would have worked more for me, because even though I liked Luke's scene of, you know, being down there, I didn't like the line of "I will not be the last Jedi," because I'm like, no. The whole point of this movie, which I kind of liked, was we're moving past that, because Luke was right. The Jedi sucked when they lost.
Yeah.
And the Sith are obviously the bad guys. So it made sense to me, but now I feel like he backtracked right at the ending so abruptly that it was so jarring for people, because for most of the movie you shat on the character of Luke and of the original trilogy and of the prequel trilogy, and then right at the ending you're like, nope, we're all good. Jedi are the good guys. Kylo sucks. Kylo's a bitch, and so is Hux. And it was so jarring that I'm like, no, I kind of liked where you're going, because it would have been so different.
It would have made the consistency, the middle fingers still being there, like it would
and
have allowed
really, like I would have walked in the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, shaking giddy, because I'd be like, where are they going to go with this? Like, all of a sudden you can introduce like new Force powers where like a good guy is using Force lightning, or you know, our Force choking people,
or even the scene in the trailer where Rey has the double-bladed red.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like, you could look at that and go, oh,
Does
did she actually fully turn? Because we
And
already
then
see she's halfway there.
And then does she flip back? Like that? Like,
Yeah.
is that how it ends?
There were so many more openings for that, and that's ultimately what my biggest problem with this is that every other movie continued with that theme all the way through with this movie, and also the hopeful ending made zero sense to me.
No, you need hopeful endings.
There's
in a
like
sense.
12 of them on the Millennium Falcon. Like, that resistance is garbage.
It is, but at the same time, you need to be able to show that there is something to still go on, which is you still have a Jedi, you still have something.
True,
and
it's just that was my problem.
But
is
that's Disney right there. Is there always has to be something available to look at as the bright side.
Your second movie of a trilogy should be not the darkest, but not even necessarily
a certain movie of ours does have that. Where
and not even necessarily
Luke wakes up and goes, "Father."
Yeah.
And then he laments that, oh, why didn't Obi-Wan tell me?
It is supposed to be our heroes at our lowest point. It is supposed to be where now the story is flipping. Empire, obviously, like that. Luke loses hands. We realize Vader is Luke's father.
Han's locked up.
Or, there's so many things going on, but there's still hope because Luke now has a goal. He has the finish line. Leia and him are still around. Chewie, Lando is a hero now. In Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars has begun. But Anakin, is married, which is kind of cool, and Obi-Wan looks to be well on his way to being, a master. The hero still ultimately did win, but at a huge cost. Mm-hmm. In this movie, Kylo still looks like a bitch. Hux is a worthless villain by the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, when he's just made fun of, trolled, and then looked like an idiot where a dreadnought gets destroyed.
And Rey, oh my god, like without even looking like she's strained, moves what looks like 2 tons of boulders. The heroes should not be worried at all because you have basically a dude that is bipolar and has no control over his emotions, control of an empire, which is a disaster,
versus someone that just has been OP.
But
like you said, though, this movie though artistically is beautiful, gorgeous. The shots, the introduction to different things, including Rey and Kylo communicating with each other, and then the water ends up on Kylo. Like that was beautiful. Like
yes, absolutely.
One of the coolest things you could have ever done with Force powers. Then there was the light speed.
Yeah.
What happens when a ship goes right into light speed directly into another ship? Apparently, we got that answer. I was a little shocked that it just didn't kill everything.
Yeah, people can say it breaks Laurel.
Very conveniently leaves certain people alive.
That's fine.
But I don't need too much nuance on that because that shot was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It just no sound, and there goes everything.
And just everything is gone.
And
it's so cool looking.
And the main ship is split in half. It's just like, oh my god. First off, I'm like, they did that. That is beautiful. And it was just like probably like the main scene of its artistic value, which was, oh my god. What happens when that happens? Apparently something really badass looking. And also, that ship evaporates into dust. But
it's fine.
But it was beautiful. The way that they pulled it off, and you're just like, for me, that was one of my 2 holy crap moments. Mm-hmm. It was that, and then it was Luke.
Yeah.
At the end, like those were the 2 where I'm just like, my jaw was dropped. They did a beautiful job with some of their things, and there are some things that they can improve on. And we hope that they do. I do think though that people were more mad at this movie. Not just from the middle finger, but also because what they wanted didn't happen.
I agree with that. I don't care that Rey is nobody. I mean, I've talked to you about my theory.
I love that Rey is nobody.
Yeah, I talked to you about my theory. I'm totally fine that she's nobody. I wish we got more as to why she's OP. I thought that she maybe was already being trained to be a Jedi and that her master kind of, not wiped her memory, but kind of put a wall above it. So, like, she has fake memories thinking her parents left her, but it was really her master. I had my own theories, but I wasn't pissed to find that she was nobody. I thought that was more interesting. Because also, along with that, even though I keep calling him a bitch...
She can be her own thing.
Yeah, even though I keep calling him a bitch, I find Kylo to be the most interesting anyways, and it does kind of mirror Anakin and Luke. He is a Skywalker that ultimately fell to temptation. So I was okay with that, and Luke's still around. So we have Skywalker. She does not need to be one. I thought it was dumb that she'd be Luke's kid anyways, because, I know a lot of people like in the comics, in the books, that he marries Mara Jade Skywalker. It means nothing to me. I like more the Han Leia kids. I like Jason Solo and Jaina Solo way more than I like any of his kids or his wife.
Yeah.
That's just me. I get it, but I like that better. I'm fine that he doesn't have kids because to be honest, I thought he would have been too busy to even settle down with anybody.
Yeah,
He's
the head of the Jedi Order.
By Return of the Jedi, he's not the Luke we meet in New Hope. He is fully devoted to his goal of defeating the Sith and restarting the Jedi Order. He's fully devoted to that. So it would have been weird for me if she was his kid, and especially in the sense that he doesn't bring her along. That's kind of dumb. But it is what it is. This movie is not the worst Star Wars movie. It's not. You can say it's bad. I can agree with it on that point. But you also have to
acknowledge.
You have to acknowledge and highlight the good points in this. It is probably the prettiest of the Star Wars movies, and it is still one of the best acted. Adam Driver kills it as Kylo Ren. Even if I'm not a huge fan of the character, when he kind of yells at Rey, it feels so real. Like when he's so mad, he goes, "No, stop! You're still holding on." Like I'm like, "Oh man, dude, damn. Yeah, Rey, you're still holding on. Wait, no." But you want to move on to the next one?
Yes. Our 5s are different here.
They are. What's your 5?
My 5 is the first one in the original trilogy. It's Return of the Jedi.
You mean the last one?
Yes. Well, I mean, like the last of the.
Yeah.
It's one of the members of the original trilogy. It's the Return of the Jedi, and there's a strange reason I have this here.
Mm-hmm.
And really, there's only one main reason. I am getting nitpicky with my top 5 because my top 5 are beautiful.
Yes.
I love Return of the Jedi. Luke creating the green lightsaber.
Sweet.
We brought this back in. Yes. So you got yours in there, now I've got mine. This is, first off, the best lightsaber design. Don't at me. Secondly, it shows Luke has turned a corner. He's dealt with some crap. The time jump.
A year,
and he is a full-fledged badass. We don't know how, but it happened. The Rancor fight, it gets started right away. The Rancor fight, getting in there and trying to bust out Han Solo. Leia going in there, getting him out of the carbonite, and just like everything just goes 0 to 60 just like that. They know you watched the last movie.
Yeah, they didn't care. They're like, they know you saw it.
They're like, you better have, or you're gonna be lost.
Even Luke wearing black.
Luke wearing black,
drastically different from the last two.
He is a stone cold badass at this point, who still has his emotions, and he still loves everything. He's still doing everything that he believes is to be right in the universe. But what does he do? He does it now with a skill proficiency that we have not seen yet from him.
I mean, this is the first movie, too, where legitimately the first movie we actually see lightsabers being used consistently.
Yes, and there's the green lightsaber, the cool story behind it as to why they had to originally change the color. But then, for me, that just is what made me fall in love with the green lightsaber and how Luke uses it with proficiency and skill and everything like that. And it takes a relatively unknown character to me and makes him go out like a punk in Boba Fett. Bitch ass. Trifling ass.
I hate Boba Fett.
Yeah, Boba Fett's just,
I can't stand him.
Yeah.
I think he does one cool thing.
It's not that I can't stand him. I don't get what made him so loved.
He looks cool.
He looks cool. Guess what? He went out like a joke.
With the Wilhelm scream.
Yes. Is that the highest profile Wilhelm scream?
It's up there. It's gotta be up there.
Yeah. So that's like Hans Gruber getting the Wilhelm falling off of Die Hard. That's the equivalent, like the fanfare and what happens to him. So, like, and you get all of that. Like, you get Han Solo out of there. He's panicking. He's like, oh God, what do I do now? Like, Lando. What do you mean, Lando? Han should be pissed that Lando's name is even being mentioned at that moment, and he's not. Why he's so discombobulated he can't even have time to think. Everything. Leia choking out
Jabba.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt, like just choking him out with nothing more than a chain that was used for his enjoyment.
Leia's always a badass.
Leia, like that was probably her most badass moment, just stone cold killing a big old worm thingy. Like it just starts off so action packed and so amazingly 0 to 60. Han goes back, and when they end up going to Endor, though, this is the only reason this is at 5 for me.
Mm-hmm.
It is super nitpicky, and I just love the other 4 movies just as much as this one. It is super nitpicky, and here it is. 2 things, mini part. Ready? 1, the Ewoks treated C-3PO like a god. That is unforgivable for me.
Because you just hate C-3PO.
I hate you, C-3PO. And 2, there is an entire scene where they basically tell back the story of Star Wars to the point that they have gotten up to.
Yes, to the Ewoks, yeah.
Do we need that? No. And again, this is super nitpicky. Because I love my top 5. I love all of these movies with an unbridled passion. For Return of the Jedi to be 5 for me, that's a tough decision for me. I love this movie. I love everything about it. The transformation of Luke. And again, he taps into the dark side one last time. And then gives it up knowing for sure. Like, he's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Beats your boy.
And then gets zapped until Vader goes, wait a dang minute. I killed my wife in childbirth. How is this going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Adult Swim variation of
yeah,
like the robot chicken variation of Vader's thought process while this is going on it's fantastic, but it allows for the redemption of Darth Vader before he kills kids apparently, but it allows for an arc where Luke believes in his father and it actually pays off, because this dude was gonna get killed if it didn't happen. He put all of his eggs into this one basket.
And he kept it going too when he's being shot. He's calling for his dad. I mean, he really did put all of his eggs in that basket.
He put all of his eggs in that basket and it pays off. Is that lucky? Yes. But we also get to see for the first time Emperor Palpatine do a thing.
God, Chief Palpatine is
Oh
my
boy.
Palpy is the best.
And yeah, you get Palpy straight up going with lightning. And apparently lightning really hurts. Because
Palpatine knows what's up, man.
Because the screams that Luke lets out, Mark Hamill does a great job of it. Oh man, god damn. And again, that's all it was for me. It was a one nitpicky thing. And the Ewoks were an adorable little thing that comes out there. It's meant to show, hey, this is supposed to be a kids movie in a sense too. Like, you hate them, and it's pretty interesting there. But it does a lot. Like, unfortunately, it had a double edge to it, where kids love the Ewoks, and then
we get Jar Jar.
We get Jar Jar. We get a bunch of weird things. We get the Porgs. Like, I don't have a problem with the Porgs. Chewie eating one of those, cooking one.
Chewie eating one is the best.
Chewie cooking one of those sons of bitches up while the others look at him. Like, I would have loved it more if he just took a bite.
What bothers me with that scene, though, and this is real quick, what were they doing when he was cooking and like
plucking it?
Their friend. What were they doing then? Because eating it, honestly, is okay.
You just finished the job.
The least brutal thing you've done the last hour. Chew, thanks, bud.
But like, so it did introduce something that would come up to be an unnecessary. Like, it was essentially it turned into an evil. But again, I'm getting real nitpicky. I love Return of the Jedi. It is one of my favorite movies, and the fact that it's at number 5 says more about the movies I have ahead of it than any problem I have with Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. My 5, this is probably going to be the one I talk about the least, because it's up here for really just 2 or 3 scenes, and that is Rogue One.
Oh boy.
I love Rogue One. I know a lot of people say it's their favorite of the sequel or Disney purchase, whatever. It is for me. I adore Rogue One. I really do. I like just the no-name characters, essentially, that we get. And then they all die in the end. I actually like that because you kind of just follow them on this quick story. It's a story we didn't necessarily need, but it was so crucial to the story of Star Wars that I'm okay that it was told. Again, kind of like what you said, the Star Wars movie didn't need lightsabers, or didn't need a bunch of them to be very cool. The use of the Death Star in this movie. We talked about Last Jedi being gorgeous. I think both times the Death Star was used in this movie was so beautiful. The reintroduction of Grand Moff Tarkin, who is one of my favorite villains of the Star Wars saga. It's a shame he's only in one movie, but it also, and I'll get to that later, makes him a legend. And then, of course, and why it's so high up for me, and a lot of these movies are now high up here because of just a few scenes. This is Darth Vader's best moments.
Oh my god. It shows the badass that he's supposed to be.
He's incredible in Empire Strikes Back. We'll get to that, believe me. But here, I mean, when he's choking out the one guy, I can't think, what's his name? Krennic. He's choking him out on Mustafar. And anyone that says, like, Vader doesn't say lines like that, have you never watched Empire? Like, when he goes, like, don't choke on your aspirations, director, made total sense to me, because before that he goes, apology accepted, Captain Nita, which is also dope. But, like, he has moments like that where he chokes him out. And again, we see Vader as he truly is. Like, this is when he doesn't know his kid is alive, or kids are alive. He is fully devoted to a point to the Empire. He doesn't know where Obi-Wan is. He is just, this is the Vader the galaxy's known for up to this point 19 years. and my God, he is beautiful.
Oh man, it's terrifying.
The ending scene, of course, when they're trying to get the plans away, it is the only time I think Star Wars has ever become a horror movie or had this like really exhilarating scene.
Oh
He is
my
just, and
Including
again,
the beeping.
yeah.
Oh my God, could you have gotten a more
Yeah.
ominous background sound?
We never really get to see Vader truly just, lay people out. Because I know a lot of people now look at the Obi-Wan fight as he's being cautious because this is the guy that's put him in that suit of armor. I agree with that. Empire, he's really just testing Luke and ultimately just wants him to join him. And even Revenge of the Sith, it's kind of the same thing. He just wants Luke to join him. He wants him to fight the Empire with him. This is him, not give me the plans. And it just mows people down. And it is terrifying because you're seeing... He's force holding people to the wall. He's cutting them down. People are saying he's also force holding that door open so that he can like actually get to these guys. He is truly just terrifying. You see people just how scared he is, and this fits so often that we do see, or you hear about it more in the extended comics and all stuff, that many in the Empire saw Vader as a dark god, as like just this menace, and you truly feel all of that as he is just mowing through guys. But that really is all I have to say about Rogue One. I think it's a fun story with some incredible scenes from one of my favorite characters ever invented, Darth Vader. And that's really about it, but my number 4 is your number 5, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and I went heavy into this one. You just hit on your points on this one.
Yeah, so real quick for me, the green lightsaber, I think it's awesome. You introduced a new element to Star Wars, accidentally, that's fine. But for me, what does it for this movie, and why it's not up there with the other original trilogy, I think this probably has the weakest acting. The reveal of Leia knowing somewhat that she was Luke's sister is not a great acting scene. That is hard to watch at times, especially when you're someone like me. As I've gotten older, I've watched, I'd almost say masterpieces in terms of acting. It is much tougher to watch that. But every single Luke and Vader scene is, I think, perfection. When they're standing on the bridge and Vader's inspecting his lightsaber, that is the first time you really see just how depressed Vader is, how desperate he is, how the dark side for him is more pain and agony. And I think the line too that really just drives it home is when Luke says that my father really or truly is dead. And while you can't see his face, you can almost feel the pain that Vader has when he sees that. And one of the greatest characters ever invented for cinema. He is not in my top 3, but he is 4. Chief Palpatine, Darth Sidious, Emperor Palpatine, whatever you want to call him. Ian McDiarmid as him is truly, he is somebody that has fun the whole way through Star Wars, even the prequels. Because up to this point, we only see the dark side as someone that, with Vader, you don't know the power of the dark side. I can't say no to him, like the whole thing. Palpatine relishes in every single thing he does. He is the only person in these movies that 100% loves life. He is enjoying everything he does. He is a joy to watch on screen every time he's on. He steals the show. And he's only in it for the climax of the movie. Realistically, he has a scene where he arrives on the Death Star and him and Vader talk, and he has that iconic laugh. But man, the introduction of Force Lightning is so cool. I love that. But my biggest gripe about this, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit more with Empire, and why Empire almost wasn't where it's at, but it is still there for me. This is the weakest Han Solo is in the original trilogy.
Yes.
For me, and for Harrison Ford as well, I think Han should have died in Empire. And I'm gonna use my second favorite fandom, Game of Thrones, for this. The character of Oberyn Martell is now a legend in the Game of Thrones community because he's only in there for 8 episodes. Same with Ned Stark, he's only in there for 9. They're not even in for a full season. But they are so cool, and they go out before they get crappy or before they get stale. They go out like badasses or in a brutal way. I think Empire truly would be considered the best movie of all time, or truly one of them, if in Empire you had the reveal that Vader is Luke's dad, and you have the death of Han Solo after he gives that just such an iconic line of "I love you, I know." If he died there in Carbonite, that would have been amazing. And I know it was supposed to test it to see if they could work on Luke. That never made total sense to me. I think Vader was trying to turn Luke before even the Carbonite, so I would have liked to have rather seen that rather than him trying to freeze Luke. That was kind of weird. But yeah, this is Han Solo's weakest points. He kind of is just going along for the ride, it feels like, even when they're kind of teaming up. He's like, count me in, and it feels weird. It does feel like Harrison Ford does not want to be there. I think he truly saw his character's endpoint. He got his wish in The Force Awakens, and I get it. It brought us Ben Solo, but you could have had Luke's kid being turned to the dark side. You could have done that.
I do, though, think that one of the biggest things about that with Han in Return of the Jedi is he's shown as a character that's still in recovery.
Yes, that I do like is in the beginning where, you know, he is still in recovery. He's still not there yet. But I don't know. I think the movie would have been fine if we just had Lando and Leia and Luke, and that's our trio along with Chewie. And, you know, maybe they're doing this for Han or something like that, or it gives everyone an extra motivation. But it does give us a really dope opening to this movie.
The busting him out is probably one of the best scenes.
It is awesome. I do love that. And I will say this, a lot of the beginning, after the opening, is kind of boring. Really, we're getting to Luke, Vader, and the Emperor, which once we get there, I mean, just when the music starts swelling after Vader pretty much calls Luke out and is now like, sister, which is always a weird delivery for me, but I kind of dig it. The music swells, it's a huge moment, and also, before, you know, because there's still a prequel left on here that I have not said, Luke faces the same decision that Vader faced earlier in his life. He cuts off Vader's hand, he has him at his mercy, and Luke ultimately chooses to either die by the Emperor or hopefully have his dad save him. You know, at that point he is fully devoted to the Jedi. Anakin, again, because it mirrors itself, Anakin faced that same thing in Revenge of the Sith, and he killed Dooku. And I love that scene. Vader throwing down the Emperor was iconic. I hope that's not ruined. Please don't. I like this movie because I like the ending. I love the final act of this movie. I think more than I like the final acts of any of these movies. That Return of the Jedi in its final act is what I hope for after watching a trilogy.
Yes. And unfortunately, all those actions also in the end do end up being for nothing.
And that is a shame of it, but also kind of mirrors kind of how Star Wars does work.
Yeah.
So Palpatine did a lot of shit in Revenge of the Sith and worked years to do it, and ultimately it meant nothing because Luke got away, essentially. Luke and Leia escaped what he didn't even realize grasps.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what ruined it. But you want to go on to...
All right, so number 4 was Rogue One for me.
Rogue One for you, yes.
Yeah, I had it up there, but then I was thinking about it. I'm like, nah, you know what? There's still 3 of them that really are genuinely better.
I just you changing your list.
You hit everything on Rogue One that I would do the same of. Mm-hmm. And again, it's one of the best movies that you don't need your lightsaber to show the allure of Star Wars, and it's executed great. I don't think we need to go into much more with Rogue One.
No, I didn't mean all the points there.
So we'll go with number 3, and mine is one that you had much lower on your list. Much lower on your list. It's The Force Awakens.
Yeah, same for me with 3, but yeah.
So The Force Awakens for me was a reintroduction to Star Wars. It's another one of those big moments. One of the biggest positives I have about The Phantom Menace is that Star Wars was back. And now with The Force Awakens, it was the same thing.
Yeah, the same feel to it, yeah.
It was the same feel to it, where there is a lot to look into, and now my biggest question was, okay, what do you do? Do you incorporate a lot of the original cast? Do you try to keep it safe here? And they did. It's something that could be seen as a drawback, but it was a safe play, and they executed it well.
Yep.
There was a lot of parallels to A New Hope, which does have its drawbacks. But at the same time, I do love the character Finn. I thought that was one of the greatest things that they invented.
He was truly the different character.
He was the different character.
I loved it.
And his immediate friendship with Poe Dameron was amazing to look at.
I do want to say something with that real quick because I agree with you. I always thought of that as a bromance. They're bros right off the bat.
They're bros right away.
They get it. Stop. And this may piss people off. Stop making everything a relationship. Oh my God. I have 3 friends that I know right off the bat that I am like Finn and Poe with. It's a bromance. All right? It does not have to be gay. It does not have to be a relationship. The bros.
They're best friends immediately, and the connection is right there. Finn is, strangely enough, the glue that creates this trio.
He is, yeah.
And
in a sense, if by character interactions, he's the main character.
He really is. By interactions, he is the main character. And if not, he should be, because of the fact that he immediately busts Poe Dameron out of a jail cell and gets him into a TIE fighter. They get separated, and what's he do? He runs into Rey, who is infatuated with the fact that he is trying to fight against the Empire. yes, Finn's character starts out on a throne of lies, but he redeems
The
himself.
throne of lies.
He becomes really the first non-Force user in any of the movies to wield a lightsaber.
And he does surprisingly well, which is an issue I
He struggles
do
with the
have, but,
he
you
struggles with the stormtrooper at first,
Mhm.
where he just like
Yeah.
he's dealing with this where the guy's got a riot baton and they're fighting pretty well. But he actually just goes immediately into Rey needs my help. I'm picking up this lightsaber. You want it? Come get it. And I'm like, oh boy. Because in the trailers, you thought Finn might be the guy.
They 100% set up Finn as the Jedi.
They deceived it as Finn being the guy.
Actually, to be honest, I walked in that movie thinking we were going to get 2 new Jedi.
Yes.
I thought Rey, because
How she was.
Poe made it pretty obvious what he was supposed to be.
Yes.
But Rey and Finn, it was like, oh, are we getting like 2 Jedi? And Rey's the Skywalker. He's the random person. Like, is that what we're going
Yes.
with? And I was hyped for that.
Finn as a character was so well fleshed out, and even then, like, there was still something that you could have done with him. Like, you could have given him a deeper background of being a stormtrooper instead of what they painted him as a little bit of a newbie. And
Which is so weird. We talked
which is
about
weird.
this.
And you would have liked to see a little bit more of, like, they keep calling him traitor, and it seems to bother him. If he actually was truly a traitor, like, he would have actually gone on several missions as a trooper. Maybe even be one of those guys that gets, like, the riot baton, and that's how he's got some proficiency with a lightsaber.
Man,
That's
you're
like,
saying this,
to
and I want it so bad.
think such a strong character that I loved in that movie could have been even better. But I do love a lot of the aspects of it. The immediate bromance with Finn and Poe, the friendship right away with
Him and Rey.
BB-8.
I do like BB-8.
BB-8 took the trilogy right away by storm, and like immediately overtook R2 for you're the most adorable droid, and I hate you because you are so damn cute. Stop being cute. And like Finn right away, like just telling him, like yeah, let's get us out to that planet as soon as possible, and then.
Oh, that is my favorite scene.
Oh, screw you,
that is my
BB-8.
favorite scene.
You little butthole, you're so
He's
adorable.
adorable. Love him.
Kylo Ren is an interesting one to me. I thought that you created a guy who had weakness, and I guess that is why he was supposed to lose right away.
Yeah, well, that's my thing. Is I think they overdid it on his weakness.
They overdid it on his weakness, but at the same time, he was wounded in that fight.
He was wounded.
Chewbacca lands a blow to his midsection.
He was wounded,
and
but
you could see it. He's just constantly hitting it, like trying to make it go away. And like he obviously is very much impaired by this because Finn keeps up with him.
Yeah,
And
I think what they should have done,
and
not,
that's
not
why
just
I
having
think-
him hit it. If he went down to like one knee every once in a while and like
Yeah.
couldn't keep fighting, or had to like force push
But
Finn
they-
Rey away.
But they show very well that Kylo Ren's supposed to be better than this, but he's got a problem right now. He's got an actual ailment. And Chewie, shame on you. Because,
Got hit him in the head, dog.
No, not even that. He starts shooting at stormtroopers after. You know they can't
Yeah.
hit you.
Dude,
You've
keep
been-
shooting at Kylo.
Buddy, you're a vet. You've seen this at this point.
You know what I heard? This was after the movie came out, but a lot of people said this. They're like, you know what's crazy? Chewie's probably known this kid since he was born. Probably his Uncle Chewie, and he's just shooting shit at this guy after he killed Han. But like all of his love maybe for this kid is gone. Kill him
Immediately.
Like I was like, oh, I didn't even think of
like
that.
the Wookiee immediately, like it just like the
Didn't
instinct
think of
comes
that.
back, and he's like, bam. Yeah.
Speaking of that, though,
He shoots this kid and just, but you see that he is very much physically impaired, and that's why I think because look, if a Sith Lord is supposed to be all powerful and a regular non-Force user is keeping up with him in lightsaber combat, well, guess what that means? That means he's got an actual problem. That's easily why I could see, yeah, Rey doesn't lose, but at the same time, Kylo was not put in a position where he could win.
that's fair.
He had to make a sacrifice to make the turn to the dark side, and part of that sacrifice was taking a body blow that would
That's
not
fair.
allow him to keep the other two as prisoners.
I will say, going back to like that scene where he gets shot, that's probably the most emotional I've been in these movies. And of course, I saw the prequels when I was younger, and even the real trilogy when I was younger. But when Chewie kind of, I guess, cries out, that's when I actually got a tear in my eye when Han died. Not when Han got stabbed and fell down. It was when Chewie like kind of roars out like in pain. I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm out.
Chewie sad.
I was done after that point. I was like, I killed his best friend.
Yeah, and like there was some like the levity in some of those moments. Like Poe basically is in front of a Sith Lord, and he's just What goes on here? You start talking, I start talking. I'm like, okay, this is my favorite guy right here.
The thing is, like, they set up these characters so well. Two of them, Poe and Finn, are set up so well. Just through was a snarky asshole.
Yes, and that was right away. That scene, I'm like, I have my new favorite character.
And
right
John
there.
Boyega as Finn just dominates every scene he's in.
Yes, he's brilliant. In
But that is, Poe continues kind of being a very interesting character in The Last Jedi. That's always been my problem, is that Finn, his story doesn't progress.
Finn actually, as a character, I thought was given a step back.
Yeah, I thought
and I'm excited to see what he does now.
I hope they do something good for him.
But like, he was such a strong character in this one, and like you mentioned that the characters are part of your problem. Finn and Poe as characters immediately
are very good.
And then there was this beautiful scene right here, where you saw like the direction that they go and aesthetically pleasing in these movies has been the Millennium Falcon shot, the scene where Rey turns the throttle off, flips the damn thing because the gun is broken.
That's pretty sweet.
Flips the ship over. Finn, got it, bam, and then throttle on, get on out of there.
Yep.
That was a beautifully executed scene. I don't care if it paints Rey as a Mary Sue right away. Screw that noise. That was beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
That was beautiful.
But ultimately, I mean, that's kind of been my problem, is the characters.
My biggest thing, though, in Star Wars, it's not always going to be about the characters more so than it's going to be about the scenes and what they do with them and how badass can you make something look. And that was one of those big time moments right there. And then honestly, like,
it's crazy that this
Finn
is the first
taking
time we're going to see all three of those guys together.
Finn taking on Kylo Ren was, again, low-key one of my favorites. You've got a wounded Sith
when he
trainee.
yells and then like kind of goes after him, I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah. Like, he knows he's not got a chance.
He had that look in his face like, I'm going to get cut down, but I'm swinging for this girl.
He even tags Kylo Ren.
He stabs him in the shoulder, doesn't he? Like, real quick, like a little, like,
he tags him.
fencing tag.
Like, he tags him. Okay. And, like, unfortunately,
and then Kylo turns it on and slashes up his back.
Yeah, and, oh, man, I'm just, like, oh. I don't even think I've seen a Tauntaun get cut up like that.
No, he got, I remember in the movie theaters, I saw with my dad and my brother went, I think he just died.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I definitely just got cut in half.
No, so Force Awakens is my number 3, and I loved a lot about that movie. And they did make it a safe play, but I also think that they executed it really well. And then immediately you see how much this First Order wasn't playing around when they killed 5 planets.
That was wild. That was also a very gorgeous scene.
Did it hit a little too close to home on the history? This will be the last day of the Republic! Nazi salute. Christ.
Yeah, that was... Yeah,
Parallels a little hard there. Yes, I know I need
Yeah.
to cheer against the ginger a-hole.
Man, I will say, I actually really enjoy that scene because he starts crying. Like, he's so emotional. I was like, yo, Hux really believes in what he's saying. Like, he's in it.
Yeah, and then once that salute came, and I'm like, look, I already knew not to cheer for this guy, but I didn't need the parallel to Ginger Hitler.
Yeah. But I do like Poe and Finn, especially as characters.
Slapped us right in the face with it.
I will say that with those characters, I wish all three of them were together.
Yes.
Like they tried playing off that Poe died, which was weird because I'm like, you did market this as those are the new trio, so that's kind of weird. And that piloting scene would have fit so much more if Poe did it or something like that with the Millennium Falcon. I would have dug that, but it is a gorgeous scene. I actually
and then even
really
Poe's
love.
Reintroduction from returning from the dead.
It's so awesome though.
He's just gunning down TIE fighters left and right, and you're like, okay, the movie did say right away he's ace pilot. We actually get to see the ace piloting going on.
Yeah, and John Boyega, and he actually, again,
like
the
he
best
knew
character,
he knew who it was, and like his
he goes,
character.
yeah, that's one hell of a pilot. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Look, he's mowing down like 9 TIE fighters, not even breaking a sweat.
Yeah,
love that.
So there's a lot about this movie that I loved, and they did a great job with it. So your number 3 is one that I had lower on my list.
Yes, so I like that we did that because it's a little different. My number 3 is Revenge of the Sith. I wholeheartedly adore this movie. I have it way higher than I know a lot of people do, but I love it for exactly what it is. Going off of just some of the negatives real quick, the dialogue is still very clunky. I still don't buy the Anakin-Padme romance. There is some stuff that definitely is a plot hole. The kids, that's really the big one, is probably the kids. All of them.
Everyone think of the children.
All of them. Especially with, Leia supposedly remembering Padme's face. Along with this, though, what I do like, and it happens throughout the prequels, less Jar Jar. Even though he did play a role in the Republic Falling, he's got like one scene. Always great. But what I will say here, you fully get the friendship of Anakin and Obi-Wan in this movie, full blown. I mean, they have incredible banter, which is actually good dialogue, because the opening scene is outside of A New Hope, the best opening in the Star Wars saga. You see these two flying in together for the Battle of Coruscant. They're absolutely in sync with each other. You get great banter, including this is where the fun begins. I hate flying. You also get to understand the characters more. In the opening, Anakin wants to go back and help out the clone troopers that are getting blown up by these droids, and Obi-Wan very much, again, for the second time, tells him, no, we have to focus on the mission. You can't save everyone, which is the thing you do see with Anakin, especially in the Clone Wars cartoon, is he is the hero with no fear. He is the hero of the Republic. Along with that, again, the opening, the continued fight with Count Dooku is actually, I think, one of the more beautiful fights in the prequels. The sound in there is actually very, very appealing. And also, you truly get to see Anakin and just how much he has grown at this point, even though, Obi-Wan gets thrown around, which kind of sucks. It is supposed to be, and something I loved about this prequel film, Anakin is the main character, which is something we didn't necessarily get to see in the last two movies. And this has been my problem with the prequels up to this point, outside of the dialogue, and I want to wait till I got to Revenge of the Sith to say this. Revenge of the Sith, the prequels, have a bit of a main character dilemma. You don't totally know who's supposed to be the main character. It is Anakin's story, and you know where it's going, but we see a lot of Obi-Wan, Padme, and Qui-Gon's kind of the main character of the Phantom Menace, and Obi-Wan kind of does the most plot-driven stuff in Attack of the Clones. In this movie, though, this is Hayden Christensen. This is Anakin's movie. Everything is drive through what he is doing, what Palpatine is saying to him, what Obi-Wan is saying to him, and you also kind of get his motivation. And this is the most we see the Jedi Order as a very dogmatic, hypocritical, and just kind of old order. I love Mace Windu. I love Sam Jackson. Mace Windu sucks in this movie. He's a dick. And they kind of are asking for Anakin to turn on him. And it led to theories that Mace doesn't like Anakin because he wanted to be the chosen one. Regardless, you can see that this order doesn't totally know how to deal with anyone over the age of 2. They really have no idea how to deal with any of these guys. But my favorite part of this movie, and I'll get to other stuff too, this is Emperor Palpatine's movie, though. I talked about how this is Anakin's movie. No. This is the shining moment, though, of Palpatine. He is relishing in everything that has happened. And honestly, one scene that I really want to talk about is, of course, the final duel, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, and being split with Yoda versus Palpatine. Palpatine doesn't care what happens in his duel with Yoda. Mm-hmm. He won. The movie technically is over. The villains have won regardless of what happens now. And Palpatine, including, also kind of shows you what style the Sith are. You've heard about it where Palpatine wanted Luke to take over for Vader's spot, but in this, Palpatine is totally okay with dying because he knows eventually he will die to Vader. He knows that full blown, and he tells that to Yoda, Darth Vader's gonna be more powerful than either of us. He fully knows he's gonna die, and he's laughing maniacally. He's having a blast because he won. The Jedi, at least to that point, what we know, are down to 2, Obi-Wan and Yoda. And to Palpatine, the only one he even fears at all is Yoda, and he's about to fight him, and he is pretty confident that Anakin's going to kill Obi-Wan. And it builds up to this movie too. And this is why actually I will defend Hayden Christensen in these prequels, because he's given clunky dialogue, but when he is asked to just not really say anything, or even just a few lines, when he is shown to be a broken man or a damaged man or even just a dark person, he does it beautifully. Whenever he is now Darth Vader and he's got the hood up, or he is just staring at people, Hayden Christensen is menacing as the newly christened Darth Vader, including my favorite scene when he turns back towards something that's screaming. Realistically, it's just back to the camera with the yellow Sith eyes. Hayden Christensen is terrifying as the newly anointed Darth Vader. What I like about this movie, because I am someone that does like a lot more grim, dark stories. I like stories that are a little bit more realistic. The villains ultimately do win because our heroes weren't prepared for it. And that's kind of where I was talking about with, Yoda and Obi-Wan and Mace failing, and which I kind of liked, and you hinted at it, they made Obi-Wan, look bad. I enjoyed that because it does fit to where those characters, we find them in Empire and A New Hope. They fail often. Obi-Wan is not a coward. I've heard people describe him like that. I just think he's human. He's too good of a friend. He's too good of a brother to Anakin to kill him. He could have crippled him. He physically can't bring himself to kill Anakin because he still sees him as Anakin, and he can't do it. And that ultimately reverberates horribly for the universe because they get something darker. I think if Vader was never put into the suit, he would not have been as cold-blooded and and I say that even with the killing children scene, he would have been still Anakin. He still would have been called Darth Vader, but the galaxy would have seen him still as Anakin. He still would have been Anakin. But him being put in that essentially sarcophagus that is the Darth Vader armor, the suit, it truly made him something different. That is when the character, the personalities totally split. I love that, of course. Him actually being put in the suit, I think, is such an iconic moment, even including the no, that's whatever. But with the mask ultimately coming down on Anakin, and you see just his burnt body, his just a cripple of a body, I do love that. I like the fact that our villain is a damaged person. He is a not a bitch, but he's a damaged person. There's a reason
they did kind of make him a little bit of a bitch.
They do make him a bit of a bitch in that movie, but ultimately he still does awesome things once he becomes Vader.
I just think there was a lot of damage to Darth Vader.
Yeah,
in that movie.
there was a lot of damage to Darth Vader. Just some of the negatives, because there are obviously negatives.
I mean, I feel like we went over those plenty already.
Oh, I think we
just have to do our alternates of 1 and 2.
We do, yeah. Actually, outside of the Obi-Wan Anakin fight being too long, I adore this movie for all of its issues and its praises.
Yes. So our number 1 and number 2 are flip-flopped.
They're flipped, yeah.
Yes. So we'll just go into it right away. I mean, my 2 is Empire Strikes Back. My 1 is New Hope. His is vice versa.
Yep.
So let's just talk about these two.
They are the masterpieces of the Star Wars saga.
Yes, they really are.
That's how I would describe them.
I think, should we just start it canonically?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that mine.
Yeah, let's start with New Hope. Absolutely. Let's start with New Hope.
It doesn't matter that mine is the first one that we're talking about here. It's just that our top 2 is the top 2, and they are the first 2. So A New Hope, it is the beginning of this story, and you get to meet a character like Luke Skywalker who's got big dreams.
Luke is definitely a dreamer.
He's a dreamer right away, through and through. You can see it. He's playing with one of those ships in his own.
I mean, we see a few times where he just so desperately wants to leave Tatooine.
He wants to.
He is exactly the character in.
He wants to find his place in the galaxy.
Yeah, he wants a bigger piece of the galaxy.
Yes.
He doesn't want to just sit on a backwater planet that's on the outer rim.
That's trying to grow plants in the desert.
He's a moisture farmer. Why are you settling on a planet that you have to farm water? Man, someone picked a shitty life. Lars, I'm looking at you, dog. Go somewhere else.
So, you see this kid, he's a dreamer, and then just innocuously, through the struggle of these 2 droids that are running away frantically with...
After one of the greatest opening scenes.
And Leia, I mean, tactically not the greatest move, just shooting one person and trying to run away.
My favorite thing is comedies when everyone's set to stun and Leia just guns one down, and it's a comedy thing. I think it's Robot Chicken too, but he grabs it and goes, "We said set to stun. He wasn't gonna hurt you." But this is also the introduction to one of my favorite female characters of all time, Leia Organa, Leia Skywalker, whatever you want to call her. She is a badass from minute 1 to the fucking credits. She is a badass through and through. She talks
and the
back
bun,
to everyone.
the bun,
She
like,
sasses. Oh my god, Leia's amazing. The introduction of Han. Actually, this is Han at his best.
Yes.
He is in A New Hope. He's a sassy son of a bitch.
Yes.
He's an asshole. He's a scoundrel, and he does what he wants. He's doing all this for money. He accepts their Obi-Wan and Luke because he's like, they're paying me 17,000 credits. Yeah. No, we'll take you idiots.
Yeah,
I'll take you idiots wherever you want to go.
Yeah. So and again, the other thing though, where the Phantom Menace kind of falls and fails, and even with this new trilogy, that the 3 of them haven't even been together yet, this group gets formulated in probably the most, I would say, fluent way possible.
Yes, it is incredibly quick. Obi-Wan isn't even part of the trio, which I do like, is that they break up that original trio so that the new one can form. Obi-Wan goes on his own journey, which we find out through the prequels is so important. It is a culmination.
Yeah.
But yeah, they form together so quickly and so fluidly.
And it's normal. It's natural.
Yep.
And it's like Luke had his aunt and uncle burned. You want to talk about
never happens again, which is wild.
You want to talk about a dark moment? There's one right there. But Luke then goes, "I'm coming with you."
It's his call to adventure, where initially he was going to reject it because his uncle Owen Lars, who picked his terrible lifestyle, said no. He wants him to stay on the moisture farm, but with their deaths, Luke is. I will say this is my one problem. They do deal with tragedy weirdly in this movie.
Yeah, Luke does not really show too much.
Even Leia, when her planet's blown up, she's like, all right,
I remember-
no time for mourning.
I remember seeing it was from Cinema Sins. Like the joke was Luke must have had a Titanic cry on the way to the Jawa burial
Yeah,
site.
two of them, man. We're just no, he's gone home. He's like, good, that asshole's dead. Old buddy, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, and
I gave him a laser sword. I think that's why.
I mean, yes, and I mean he also realizes the lore of the Jedi. That's introduced right there.
Yep.
And like there it is, like, and there it is, the first iconic moment right there, the lightsaber.
And now lightsabers are the most iconic sci-fi fantasy, whatever you want to call it. It's the most iconic weapon of cinema. I mean, people spend $150 on these things, and they're so cool. They are so interesting. They are iconic.
They really
to
are
Star Wars.
beautiful, and it just like that was the first introduction to it. And then, like you said, on the ship, we talked about this with Han Solo, the character, when we talked about Solo. How much reward would it be to save the princess? Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. No probs.
Yes, and then
And he
Luke and
bitches
Han
the whole way through it.
Yeah,
He's pissed.
they just roll right through everything and get to Leia. They find her and everything like that.
And she's mean as hell.
And she's mean and sassy as hell, and everyone's like, okay, you're all right at this point. And then to see Chewie shoot a stormtrooper, run after them as they run away, which I will never understand that
The
one.
funniest moment in Star Wars is Han and Chewie chasing after them.
After shooting one guy, the rest of them run when that is two people that they have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no Jedi there. It's just a blaster.
Yep.
He shoots one of them, and the rest of them go, nope. They run away, and then
Into the cargo bay, or like where the Millennium Falcon is. And I swear to God, this had to have been like added in where they added a bunch of stormtroopers, because the look on Harrison Ford / Han Solo's face is complete and utter honest shock. He's like, oh my God, and he runs right away, runs right past Luke and Leia, like not even, he's like, no, go the other way.
that's one of the best moments right there.
Yep.
Like, first off, you're entirely confused why a platoon of stormtroopers runs
He's
away
running
when
away.
one shot gets fired, and they're like, nope, when you could have shot them in the back as they're running away. And then, and to follow it up with, I made a huge
It's like, oh
mistake.
no.
And then you piece right back out of there.
Oh man, it's awesome.
And then there's obviously the duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, where Obi-Wan knows he has no chance in hell. There's not much of a fight here, so he knows what's going
Yeah,
on.
I mean, he's squaring off with them. It's an even
He's
fight.
squaring off with them,
But he's
and he
also
knows-
like, yeah, I
but
can't
he
get out of
knows,
here with these guys.
he knows Luke ain't going anywhere without me there. He's gonna try to help me.
Mm-hmm. So I gotta go.
I gotta go, and I'm gonna make sure that I stay with him though.
Yeah, which
the
I love
entire
that there
time.
wasn't much deliberation in Obi-Wan. He sees Luke, realizes he can't get out of there with them, puts his lightsaber up, he's done.
And he
I
knows.
love how quick it is.
He knows, like, he also knows he's very overpowered. Like, they're poking at each other with these lightsabers right
Really,
there.
I think just testing each other at that point.
They're pretty much gauging what's going on, and Obi-Wan is a shell of what he once was. And that's where it all comes in, is that he knows he's already outmatched. And he knows that Luke's not going to go anywhere without him there, so he makes that immediate sacrifice and just
Immediate
go.
decision.
And then the way he goes out, it's just beautiful. Like, where's the body? What happened to him?
You even get to see
Vader is
Vader's
very
confusion.
confused.
And
He's
it's just
like,
the,
what did you do?
even just the introduction of the character
You son of a
of Darth
bitch.
Vader is
Yes.
incredible. And to be honest, this is not his best moments. He's not even really in the movie much. But you get the introduction of him. He looks, he has like the Nazi-esque helmet and all that. He's very imposing. And he's got his cool moment of killing Obi-Wan, the mentor figure of Luke.
He's choking people on the ship.
Yeah, you do get the very iconic scene of him choking. It's not Nita. I can't remember. One of the admirals or Grand Moffs, and you really get that's our introduction hardcore to the Force.
Yeah.
You have Obi-Wan's mind trick. That's our introduction to the Force, and it's like, oh, yo, this is powerful. Yo,
Okay.
we get that. One of my favorite characters, Grand Moff Tarkin, is the main villain to this movie. He is incredibly cool. Like he's a bad guy, and not a bad guy you root for, but he's so calm, collected. He's a British guy, so of course he's calm, cool, collected. Destroying a planet means nothing to him. He's gonna sleep completely fine. And yeah, showing off the Death Star. We get a bunch afterwards, but this is the first one. You get to destroy Alderaan, which we find out later is like a super populated planet, one of like the core worlds. And Tarkin and the Emperor, I guess both, are just like, nah, wipe it, gone. They don't care, and it's awesome. But then, probably the best scene of this movie and why it became so iconic is probably the ending, the trench run.
Yes. And first off, I'm going to say this because I'm a snarky jerk. That is the most Freudian scene in all of movies.
Yeah, I love the trench run for everything that it is. For the time it came out in, the trench run changed cinema.
Yes.
And how it's filmed and what people can do. And it's an amazing character moment. Anakin's had his Gary Stu moments. Rey, I think, is a Mary Sue. Luke, through most of the original trilogy, does fail. He does not do very well. But this is his one moment he does succeed, and he has his hero moment. And it was set up throughout the entire movie how good a pilot Luke is. It's set up when he's on Tatooine still that he's a good pilot, and they used to shoot womp rats who are, however big they are. He used to hit them bullseye. And he wants to be a pilot with the Empire because, that's pretty much the lifestyle you're going to get here.
Yeah.
And you finally get to see just how good of a pilot he is. And also you get introduced to the Force. Really the awesome moment where Obi-Wan's still with him and he turns off the targeting computer, which is awesome when they're like, oh, you're turning off the targeting computer. Me and my dad are watching this the other night, and I'm like, he should just tell him I'm shooting from the hip, guys. Here we go.
Yep.
Like I'm eyeballing it.
And he's eyeballing it, and then there it is.
I'm like an Italian grandma making food. I'm eyeballing it.
He knows what's going on here, and
he's going for it. Yeah.
He goes for it his way.
Yep.
And it shows his first real badass moment.
And Han coming back.
Oh yes,
It's
that was beautiful.
Awesome.
Yahoo!
Where he goes, "You're all clear, kid. Let's get out of here." Blast it.
No, that's not what he says. He says, "Let's blow this thing."
Oh,
and
let's blow this thing. Let's get out of here.
Again, Freudian entirety of the scene.
And then, there are issues with
Luke, are you gonna be able to pull out in time?
Love that. But yeah, there are issues with the movie. The dialogue's not great. The acting is not
love all that.
amazing. But
Luke accidentally yells "Carrie."
Carrie, that's one of my favorite. The headbutt for the stormtrooper. But I think people need to realize this movie's during the 70s with basically no budget, and that's really the incredible thing that is Star Wars.
Yeah, and they create this universe off of it, and it's just really there's a lot of the animatronics to it and things like that come in later in the trilogy as well. It's beautifully
this
set
is what
up.
started it all. Problems and all. It is an amazing movie. It changed cinema, and that's why it's a masterpiece.
And that is why it's my number one. Yep. But I definitely respect why my number two and your number one is.
Yeah, The Empire Strikes Back to me is number one because to me, while The New Hope is a masterpiece, for me, Empire Strikes Back is a top 5 movie of all time. I know for my family, a lot of them like A New Hope first. For me, it's Empire because this takes the story, and A New Hope is just it's a fun buddy adventure. It's a very good movie. Empire just steps it up on every level. I think the acting is better. This is also where most of us get our badass Darth Vader moments. The Hoth opening is incredible.
For a series that tends to get right into the nitty-gritty every time, A New Hope, they're getting Death Star plans back, and Leia ships off 2 droids. And then this one, it's the Hoth battle. We love the Return of the Jedi scene. They get right back into it with the Hoth battle, and it is not going well.
Yeah, holy shit. And again, and this is what I like too, the grimdark stuff. The film fits the title. The Empire is Striking Back. And along with that, what I like about Empire 2, it's set 3 years later. We are meeting very different characters at this point in the film. At this point, we find out Han has left his debt with Jabba for 3 years. And he's now become a very highly respected member of the Resistance or
the Rebel Alliance.
The Rebel Alliance, or whatever you want to call it. Leia is fully in charge at this point. She is not just Princess Leia. I think this is probably the first incarnation we're going to get of General Leia before ultimately we see it in the sequel trilogy. And Luke now is probably their ace pilot. He's probably their Poe Dameron version. He's that boy. And we also get an idea later on in my favorite scene in Star Wars when he is able to force grab or force pull the lightsaber out of the snow. It's the first time we've ever seen something like that. But it also shows he has been working on, he's not there yet, but he has been working on his way to become a Jedi. And it's just, the entire opening is amazing. And what it does too is, after having pretty much our trio together the entire first movie, it immediately splits them up. You have the Han, Leia, Chewie, C-3PO group going towards, what eventually becomes Bespin or Cloud City, and you have Luke going to Dagobah, in which I lovingly refer to this movie actually as Star Wars, the one where Luke fails the entire time. Luke legitimately never succeeds in this movie. Not once. Don't lie to me and say, well, he did a backflip. I don't care. He fails every single
He
time.
got out of the ice cave.
Cool. He
Into
failed every
more
time.
snow.
Yeah, into more snow where Han had to come save him. Dope moment. But this is the movie where we actually get to see what
Well, he
being
took
a
down
Jedi
that
is.
walker.
He took down the walker. That's fine. That's fine.
That's,
He also lost
that's
his
an
co-
accomplishment.
He also lost his co-pilot, so not a flawless victory.
Yes, but then he goes,
He
and
did.
then he goes take out the other one by going in there, throwing a grenade.
So his only victory in the movie comes 15 minutes in.
First off,
Yeah.
how did any of them not notice that he threw a grenade in there?
Yeah, like, come on! They're watching this dude in an orange spacesuit climbing. Whatever. I love the movie. But this movie truly is where he fails all the time. It's also the introduction to the character of Yoda, who is a cult favorite. Now at this point, just fan favorite. He's a little green dude. Shows the size doesn't matter. Great lines such as, there is no try.
Do or do not. There is
Do or
no
do
try.
not. There is no try. He's a great character, but it shows too that Luke has such a long way to go. This may be set 3 years after A New Hope, but he has got a long road ahead of him. He has to fully devote himself to it, which is something that he doesn't do in the movie. He consistently, Luke's a whiner. I didn't say it in The New Hope, but Luke is the worst character of that movie by the end. He is our hero, but he's the one where you go, man, you're a bitch. By A New Hope, he's cooler. He still sucks.
Yeah, and
Luke
in
still
Empire,
whines.
he's
He wants success so quickly
because he's seen it already.
because he's seen it already. He sees what Vader can do. He saw what Obi-Wan can do. He also sees what Yoda can do when he fails.
But he also has seen what he can do.
yeah,
He is the guy who blew up the Death Star.
yeah, he already knows he's a bit of
He's
he's
got
a
an
bit of a
ego.
bona fide badass.
He's got an ego to him already, knowing
Yeah.
that he's succeeded in a pivotal moment of the
Yeah, let's be
Alliance.
real. This is 3 years later, and the Rebel Alliance is still a thing. They've won their share of victories, and Luke has probably played a massive part in that.
Yes.
And
So-
now we get to probably,
So when he's being told he's not ready yet, he's like, "What are you talking
yeah.
about?"
What do you mean I'm not ready yet, guys? I blew up the Death Star, and it harbors back to Vader's line back in A New Hope. The Death Star means nothing to the Force. The Force is infinitely more powerful, especially if you hone your skills. And we do start seeing that Yoda, who is a guy that I swear to God is 2 feet tall, lifts an entire X-wing out of a thick swamp.
Which failure crashed into it, by the way.
That's fine.
Well, I'm just helping
Oh,
your
yeah.
point here.
He fails all the time. But of course, my favorite lightsaber duel comes at the ending, which is, we have the iconic Han and Leia moment. I love you, I know. Boba Fett's real introduction, and the character of Lando being introduced, and he is more of a scoundrel than Han is. But to me, while I love the Return of the Jedi ending, this ending has much more punch to it because our hero loses again and again and again. Han is frozen in carbonite, and now we get to see Luke versus Vader. The crescendo, the build-up to this movie, even though we don't know that Vader is Luke's dad yet.
C-3PO even is in pieces in this movie.
C-3PO gets his ass waxed again because he gets put into pieces in The New Hope 2 in the beginning. But we finally get to see these two face off. It has been a 3-year build-up, which is why I talk about Maul and Obi-Wan like I do for Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. This has been a build-up. Vader has killed Obi-Wan. Luke also at this point believes Vader has killed his father. Vader means a lot to Luke at this point, and we also know afterwards Luke means a lot to Vader as well. And in a fight that Luke stands 0 chance in, he is on the back foot constantly, mirroring kind of the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight in Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin is just mowing through and he's just an offensive force. Vader's an offensive force. But Luke gets his cool moments in as well. We have the line of all too easy after he falls in the carbonite pit. We see Luke's got all of a sudden like superhero jump kind of thing. We see that, and he's holding the lightsaber not like a child. He's sparring with Vader, but Vader's fully testing him the whole way. And of course,
And then Luke's biggest problems in that fight are with the Force. When Vader's
with the
throwing,
Force, he has no idea how to deal with any
he's
of that.
throwing objects at Luke, and he's just getting his ass whooped the entire time.
Outside of Yoda's showing of the Force, Vader continues to show the true power, which is why those lines of "you don't know the power of the dark side" hit so hard and hits home, is because I'm seeing what Vader's doing. He's mowing people down. He's killed Obi-Wan. Yoda's cool, but he probably can't do much against these guys right now at his old age. And of course, I think my favorite part, and this is my second favorite scene. Yeah, I have like 3 favorite scenes in this movie. My favorite is grabbing the lightsaber. My second favorite is actually when Luke loses his arm. Luke gets a little nick on Vader. Vader completely turns on the steroids, goes for him, and cuts off his arm. As a kid, when I saw that, that was one of the most traumatizing moments of my life. I wasn't the biggest fan of Luke at that point, but watching his right arm get completely cut off and hearing
just his hand.
Okay, yeah. So it, like
Just
pretty
this.
much,
It's just this.
his arm gets
No
cut,
big
or his
deal.
hand gets cut off. As a little kid, I was like, what? Like it was traumatizing as a kid. I would have loved to have seen that live because I don't think people really were expecting that.
Oh yeah.
And then you get the line everyone knows from Star Wars, right or wrong or whatever it actually is no, Luke, I am your father. Mark Hamill's scream. Apparently, no one actually knew about this during the making of this film except for Mark Hamill and David Prowse and James Earl Jones. Those are the three actors that knew. And it's set up for what we know of Star Wars. I think even though A New Hope...
And again, that last scene where Luke wakes up in a jolt. And
oh yeah, when they have their mind connection, which is the first time we saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get more of it in The Last Jedi, but that's the first time we see it. And now what that did to me is what The Last Jedi didn't. That movie set up the climax. You knew where this was heading.
Yes.
At least kind of. You knew in the third movie,
Luke's got a mountain now to climb.
it is Luke against his dad. It is not Luke against just Darth Vader, the menacing figure in the Emperor. It is Luke versus his dad.
While realizing, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, I am not ready in the slightest. You leave that movie, while there are some positives, Luke and Leia are alive, our heroes have lost. Not in every single way, like in in Revenge of the Sith, but our heroes have lost. Luke now is a cybernetic arm, which they handle very quickly, which is good.
Oh, they just used a glove and prop.
But
Fantastic.
he is not ready, and by any means, Han is gone. The Millennium Falcon also leaves for a little bit. We don't really know where Chewie and Lando are going, and the Empire has fully and utterly struck back. We don't know what's going to happen. We know where the story is leading, but that was kind of why, to me, Empire's my number one, and why Last Jedi is not higher on my list is because at the end of the second movie, I know where they're going. I have an idea.
Yes.
Where The Last Jedi didn't do that for me. It was still a darker chapter of the Star Wars saga. Luke's an asshole. Kylo Ren and Snoke are badasses. Snoke does die, but Kylo Ren's now Supreme Leader. In this, Vader wants Luke, but you don't know where Luke's going to wind up. You don't even know if he's going to be a full-fledged Jedi.
Because there was even the mind...
where he probes him kind of a little bit.
Like, not even that. Like, on Dagobah, where he takes down Vader in that apparition, and it's Luke's face.
And it is Luke's face.
What does it mean?
Has Luke just fought himself? I mean, it's kind of it does hint when you rewatch the movie. That is your tell that Luke is Vader's son, because Luke is Vader's son.
Exactly.
100% personality and all as well. But it's just, to me, that was the movie that made me fall in love with Star Wars, especially as a kid. New Hope to me as a kid was a little bit boring until the ending. But for me, as a little kid, growing up with Star Wars, Empire always had me enthralled as a kid. I loved every second. There was not a boring minute. Even the training gives you cool lines. Yoda's awesome. And you get to see your character fail. You get to see your main character be human. Luke fails constantly. Even Obi-Wan and Yoda do not want him to go to Bespin. He still goes and loses. And it's something that it hits home because people fail all the time. Life is all about failure, and we see that a little bit more in Last Jedi, where failure is your best teacher. And that's what makes Luke showing up at the beginning of Return of the Jedi as a stoic guy, as a badass. You're like, all right, he listened. Yep. We know he listened, and now we know he's back, and it sets up in the final act of Return of the Jedi. But to me, Empire is truly a masterpiece. It is incredible in storytelling. It shows us a hero that needs to grow more, but there's room to grow. And it also gives us incredible lines and iconic moments in cinema that will literally never die. They're going to be studied forever. Pretty much, I think you can really make the argument that the Vader reveal kind of set up cliffhangers and expectation aversions. It really set up all that stuff. Yeah. It set up movie twists in general.
It's a beautiful series all the way throughout. Even the ones that are 9 and 10 on our list,
I will still watch
moments.
When they're on TNT, I will watch them.
So Star Wars has done a lot for us, and we know it's going to give us one last thing here before it takes off on another trilogy. And I'm very excited about that. I'm very hopeful for what that means.
Even with my problems with the sequel trilogy, I'm so excited to see where the series goes, because I love the game. We talked about Jedi Fallen Order. I love the Old Republic stuff and Darth Revan and the legends that are there. Star Wars did so much for, I think, a lot of us. The movies, this is where I do have a problem with the fandom gets so toxic.
The toxic fan base at this point is getting a little ridiculous. But
it's become too much.
It's become too much, and part of it I know is always going to be okay, it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
And you need to enjoy movies for what they are. They're movies. They're someone else's vision of something artistic. We do not have to theorize literally on everything that happens or can happen here.
Yeah.
I'm going into this movie and I'm just going in as a hype machine. I'm not going in going, what happens with Ray and Kylo? I'm not asking any questions at this point. I'm just going in this movie and I'm going.
Yep.
And that's it. Like, that's how things are supposed to be. Analytically, we can break down sports because there's patterns.
There's
and
patterns,
there's things that
there's-
can happen.
There is more to it because it's not someone else telling a story. It's just what is offered in front of you.
Yeah, there's factual things and monetary things and salary cap issues and everything like that that you can kind of prognosticate what's going on. You can look at the makeup of a roster and see what's going on there and see how good a team
who should be good, who should be bad, who's a team you should look out for.
Whereas with
see
movies and entertainment like that, you cannot really think about these things because of the fact that it's not yours. It's not necessarily like your thoughts will not translate as well into that kind of a realm because it's not your vision. And that's where the Star Wars fan base really kind of sours on me. Like, yeah, Last Jedi was 6th on my list, but what was right above it was Return of the Jedi, and I loudly proclaimed that I love so much of those other 5 movies that, you know, The Last Jedi happens to just be on the outside of that. There's some problems with it, and I would have liked it to only have been one director, but I still love that movie. Yeah. And you have been a vocal critic of it, but you still love the movie.
Yeah.
You still realize at the end of the day, it's a Star Wars movie.
I
still have fun with it.
It took till my second or third viewing for me to not really enjoy it all that much.
Yeah, and it just, again, it really is one of those things where you can not like certain aspects of things, but enjoy it for what it is, or quit claiming to be a fan.
With all this being said, though, I'm a toxic Game of Thrones fan. That's a different story, though. They took someone else's work and ruined it.
So, no, this has been an interesting one. This is definitely one of our longest. This is easily, I think, our longest podcast.
Absolutely.
I've not been keeping track of time. And
I don't care. We were ranking 10 movies.
We were ranking 10 movies. This is a long one, so thank you for
We're
listening.
both very passionate about this.
Thank you for listening to this one. We had a blast doing this just now. And hey, if you're going to see it, avoid all spoilers. Don't spoil it for people. Definitely don't do that.
And in the comments, rank yours as well. I always like where people rank Star Wars movies.
You can also hit us up, the Twitter names.
The Twitter names. At Zachary Jones 198.
And at Derek Kramer 49. So thank you for listening. It's been fun doing this little thing here. And kind of getting away from sports for an entire episode.
Yeah.
The last time we hit on these things, it was a mix.
It was a mix.
So
and we're gonna start coming back to sports now that finals are.
And we're gonna come back to it right now for one little thing. I've got an announcement here at the 11-day Power Play.
Mm-hmm.
My team has been approved. Thank you, Mike Lesikowski, Amy Lesikowski, Sarah Schumacher, the people that run the 11-day Power Play. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to step up and be a captain this time around. So guess what's going to happen on this channel? We're going to have bits. And we're going to help watch the Beer League non-stars develop, including a draft of our roster, the people that are already volunteering to help us out in that endeavor. So we're looking forward to this. We're looking forward to being a part, again, to help put cancer on ice and help fight cancer. And the proceeds of any donations, Roswell Park Cancer Institute, Oshai Children's Hospital, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Camp Good Days, everything like that. They're all part of this. They're all benefactors of it. We need to be able to do what we can to fight cancer because, dude, it sucks. So that is my farewell address for this episode here. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching our faces talk about this thing. And thanks for being along for this one.
There we go. Go Star Wars, man.
Go Star Wars. May the Force be with you. And until next time, go Bills and go Sabres, too.
Woo!